Hello everyone, Nintendo Gen 64 is here, and welcome to the history of I'm a Speedrunner. In today's part, we're going to be talking about the first 3 I'm a Speedrunner tournaments, and to help me discuss these topics, I've got a few guests with me, and they can introduce themselves right now. Hey, I got it right this time. There we go.
Wow.
We have
There we go.
CrystalFissure, Molloy, LukeRF44, KingEurope1, very famous, very long in the tooth members of the former IAS community. I don't know.
Old, ugly, stupid.
We're all very old people now, but at one point we were young and vigorous, and we had a lust for life, and we were all part of what we used to call the I'm a Speedrunner community. Now, CrystalFissure, what was I'm a Speedrunner all about?
Well, I'm probably
you weren't there.
Yeah, I know, but I'm throwing to CrystalFissure.
And I'm not coming from this, at least early on, as a position of a true expert. But really, I'm a Speedrunner was a series of tournaments that were based around our community at the time, sort of dubbed the Crass Community a little bit later on, created by Ratchet5 and Mr. 100% Gamer. So the tournaments were based off of what they were already kind of doing on Spyro Speedrunner's channel, which is, at the time, the largest Spyro Speedrunning channel on the internet. And they wanted to kind of, I guess...
Yeah, I was going to say, some might say the only.
The only,
yeah, some might say the only way. And they wanted to kind of expand on what they were already doing, which was races, and turn it into a more, tournaments. Obviously starting with Spyro, but again, I wasn't there when it initially started, but Christian actually was, so I'm sure he'll be able to fumble his way through.
So it was sorry. This all started as sort of Spyro Speedruns. It was so Spyro Speedruns was a community of pretty much people that just subscribed to Ratchet5. For his LPs, and he made a video just saying like, oh, we're going to have not even that. It was just going to be like a Skype group of people to speedrun Spyro, right? So it all started from there. I
have that video, by the way. If anyone wants to watch it, I could play a small excerpt from the video. The original,
please do.
The original video. So this was the original video that we had set up that Ratchet5 uploaded in September 2009, and it was the original inception of the he called it his multiplayer speedrunning channel. And this was I reckon about September 2009 was about like 3 months before the first I'm a Speedrunner tournament started. So this is like the genesis of it. So I think this is like right around the time Christian and Luke, you were probably there, and John and Brandon, who we'll talk about a bit later, first started talking. So let me play. This only goes for 2 minutes, but I won't play the whole thing. I'll stop when the amusement ends. But this is from Ratchet5's channel from September 17, 2009. Here we go.
Hi guys, it's Ratchet5, and today I'm not making another weekly update because I don't have much things to update besides that I've started my Crash 2 Let's Play. But yeah, you probably already knew that anyway. I just want to tell you guys about something. I've started a new channel along with Exploit 1080. It's called youtube.com/Spyro Speedruns. So obviously what I'm going to be putting on this channel is Spyro Speedruns, and this means that multiplayer speedruns, not one-player speedruns. I might put 1 or 2 on there, I don't know, but anyway, what multiplayer speedruns means is that we have 2 or 3, 4 people.
Yeah, you get the idea. That's enough of that.
Yeah.
But people were so bad in the day of like explaining succinctly what they were trying to talk about. It's just they rambled.
I still am, yeah.
Yeah, I was just laughing at just like, it's called youtube.com/
that's kind of what people do in sketch comedy shows now with URLs. Like if they want to make a funny joke, they'll be like www.thingo.com because everyone just knows URLs.
Yes.
So that was September 2009, and what he was talking about there was split screen speedruns. So like videos where, you know, what you see today, you know, in ISGP, where it's like one video here, one video there, two people running simultaneously, and that kind of thing wasn't really, you know, done back then. Most of the time, like in 2009, a speedrun usually was a guy playing a game, trying to do a specific like goal that the community kind of endorsed, and they would just run like in solo things and then upload it to, you know, Speed Demos Archive or wherever. But what this was like you could create kind of like bespoke goals, if you will, you know, like Spyro 1 race to, I don't know, 10 dragons and artisans, or, you know, something like that. And that kind of thing was like not really done at the time, but there was a real like appetite for it, I guess. So
that's the reason why he almost sounds confused in the video, because it's like it is a completely new concept. It had not been mainstream or like really used, apart from, I think, like there was an old Mario video from like 2005 or something like that that illustrated some kind of similarity, but it was not popular at all. And I mean, if you want to almost be, you know, go in more depth, to this day, it still isn't really a popular format of speedrunning. It is very much the single player run is still by far the most popular, because it's so skill based. We can talk about that a little bit later, but yeah, it really is a niche for a reason. That doesn't make it a bad thing, but yeah, it is interesting to see how it developed you know, at the time.
That's right. So I guess because we're still stuck in 2009, we're talking about things that happened in 2009. This would be a good time to ask Christian and Luke, who were actually there at the coalface, how the hell did you meet Ratchet 5, the guy in that video that we just saw? What was that about? How do you get involved with a spotty-faced 16, or actually 15-year-old Australian kid from Sydney playing Spyro the Dragon?
Should I start this one again?
Yeah, go for it, Luke.
Yes.
I try to remember off the top of my head if it was actually exploits like Brandon's Let's Play I actually found Ratchet 5 from, because I remember at the time I actually really did like his Let's Plays, but he did them quite frequently at the time before he eventually got rid of them. I think it was mainly like his Crash 1 Let's Play I was actually quite a fan of, since he was like, I would imagine since he was struggling, and Ratchet 5 was actually co-commentating with him in one of the videos. And I think it was like early October time, they mentioned something about doing, you know, races of Spyro. Now, in my free time back then, even back then before, I was doing some like just casual, you know, Spyro 1 runs, but it was like more trying to do it quickly, so like a fast Let's Play sort of thing. And I was like, oh, this could be interesting to me. So I think I commented in one of the videos like, hey, can I join, take part in these races? And they were like, yeah, sure. So and then eventually I was able to add him on Skype, and he introduced me to I think it was someone called SpyroFan13 and Crash Bandy Spyro as well.
So he was around at that time too, was he? Like I thought.
Yeah. I think he started literally like a week or two before I did.
Yeah, because I'm always vague on Crash Bandy Spyro 12. We'll mention him a lot, but he was a Israeli guy whose English was very broken at the start, and he I don't know, he was just quite the character back in the day, you know. Very amusing guy. We'll talk about him later.
Yeah, we did a race. I think it was a race to Dreamweavers. I think sadly I don't think the video's up anymore of that particular race, but it was my first race ever. I suppose I did okay. I managed to actually beat Bandy in that race, but obviously Ratchet 5 clearly won that one quite comfortably. And then since that particular race, I think like at one point we tended to do like fun daily races before obviously I'm a Speedrunner was announced. Which, by the way, fun fact, like I was actually thinking of asking him about it. I was thinking in my head like around about November time, like, hey, we keep doing these races. Why don't we have like, a little tournament format, a little fun out of it, something like that?
True,
like the group does it now.
True creator confirmed, Luke.
But obviously, we've actually said, oh, that's funny you say that because John's already talked about it as well. I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough then. So at least we're not like I'm not the only one who's thinking of this idea. So obviously that's when shortly after the tournament was created.
Yeah, right. Because I noticed on this video that you're talking about, sorry, on the video we were just watching, the sign up for like the multi speedrunner channel. Yeah, Spyro, you're right. Spyro fan 13 is there. He's like, I'll do it. I'll sign up. I'll want to volunteer. Another username who we recognize as as someone's former name. KingEurope1's former CCal125 says, "I'd love to participate." He says, and
Yeah, it's so yeah. I think we all came from Ratchet 5 and Exploit 1080 knew each other before, but most of the people at that point, I think, mostly came from well, they were Ratchet 5 subscribers, right? He made that video, so we had some sort of group calls. So that's how I got involved. I think that's how most people got involved. And you know, we did a few speedruns here and there. But you know, with the old DVD players, DVD recorders, Dazzles.
Oh yeah.
yes.
All that sort of stuff. But yeah, I remember I'm a Speedrunner. Like Luke said, I think at that point, John and Ratchet 5 wanted to, John being Mr. 100% Gamer, wanted to create a tournament. I don't remember the specifics, but you know, no doubt there was probably a group call talking about it. John being a Geordie, Newcastle, the two hosts of a reality TV show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of There were, you know,
And
from
was
Newcastle.
John? I was prefacing this earlier with Angus. John was distantly related to either Ant or Deck, or was that like a meme?
Deck, yeah, no, that's allegedly true. I don't know if it was just memed into truth or whether it was actually true, but so I'm fairly certain the name came from me. I did there's that fucking awful Photoshop.
Oh
of
yes. I remember.
The title screen of I'm a Celebrity, but Photoshop to be I'm a Speedrunner, Get Me to the End of There, which I made.
There was a much nicer one
was...
done a few years later, if I remember correctly.
No, you gotta stick to the classics. You gotta stick to the.
Yes.
If I can find it, I'll stick it on the screen now because that was quite. Yeah, I remember that one. I was like, what the hell is this? But
yeah.
Yeah, sorry, go on.
I was just gonna say I didn't actually I wasn't in a terrible amount of speedruns before I'm a Speedrunner. You know, it was basically a community at that point before the tournament. So you know, the speedruns themselves were really just kind of an excuse to have a Skype call about anything, right? So
that's what they were mostly for, though, wasn't it? Like they were mostly just like let's talk. Now, speaking of I'm a Speedrunner, do you know what the first race to be uploaded was?
Yes.
What was it? Luke will know the answer to this question.
Can I answer? Or
I think
someone
I
else want to?
I think. Can I have a go? Because I don't know if this is true or not. Because Luke is sure, I'm not. Was it Ratchet versus Meow P, AK and Arda?
It was not. It was not.
Oh.
Inada, that's a complete.
It was.
Oh yeah, that's
school
oh, that's
and
one
police
story,
involved.
I think I know the one.
Yeah.
Well, is it Luke versus Caboose?
Yes, that is it. That is the very
I
first race.
watched that about 2 weeks ago.
Now let's watch an excerpt from said race because
oh no,
I want to just examine the like what we were dealing with at this time. Like what surprisingly you would be surprised with how well this actually does hold up so far. I haven't listened to the audio quality, but I'll listen to like the first maybe like 20 or 30 seconds and see how we go. So this is LukeRF44 versus Caboose Miller 101 from December 17th, 2009. So here we go. And yes, the video is cut off. There we go.
Okay,
so
down, please.
Oh, let me turn that up so you can hear it.
5,
4,
4,
3,
3, 2,
1,
1.
charge.
Oh my god, okay, you can already hear Bandy in the
Hey.
background.
This is Luke.
I'll say here, this I think this was when
First round.
I think there was a hack in Windows Movie Maker where you can because in Windows Movie Maker you can't usually have two videos side by side. You have to do this really like stupid convoluted.
I think.
oh yeah.
So I think that's why it's, the two videos are kind of squished because you didn't have a choice of you couldn't
It was a
Play
plugin, right?
sim
It was a
properly.
plugin for Movie
15
Maker, yeah.
dragons, and they all
But
have to
yeah, I
be
mean, like
Yeah,
this is kind of like this, like you can see it's raced to 15 dragons in Spyro 1 because we were dealing with at the time YouTube's 11-minute like maximum. So you can see this video goes for 8 minutes.
Oh yeah,
I didn't know
Speaking
that,
of-
but yeah.
speaking
So
of the Movie
many
Maker
races.
thing,
Yeah, so many.
I had to remember I had to buy well actually for my birthday I had to get a recording called ZD Soft Screen I think, and Sony Vegas as well, like the actual program, because at the time Ratchet said to me, everyone who's taking part must know how to do like editing and like split screens and all that. So I actually had to ask my parents for my birthday and that, can I have something like some editing software basically,
Wow.
so I can actually take part.
That's crazy, actually. That's crazy. So I mean, you're I believe. Let me have a look. It says. Yeah, you're the left side, so, I mean,
Yeah.
spoilers, of course, but Luke would actually go on to win this first ever tournament, and,
Well,
but, like, I'm looking at your
So
skill, you're
just-
pretty good, you're outclassing Caboose already, I can tell.
Well, for starters, I'm on PAL, so that's not a good start, really.
Let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's go back.
I mean,
at this
obviously,
point,
nobody knew.
no one cared about speedrunning. Well, no one
Yeah.
cared about like actually going. Like it was just no one really took it seriously. There was no like kind of stress or anything
Yeah,
like that. But,
Yeah, I pretty much did every race on the PAL version throughout that game. Or throughout that tournament, should I say?
So let's
yeah.
let's head over then.
I was going to say, going back to the video editing, if you had Sony Vegas, you were a real big swinging dick
Kingpin.
then.
Yeah.
it was-
Oh yeah, I
I
mean,
remember
no
that.
one had Premiere or anything. It was either Movie Maker or Sony Vegas. That was it. That was all you had.
It was Movie Maker, Sony Vegas if you're like really a big swinging dick, or can you please edit this run for me and then trying to send over a fucking file or something like that. There was the but yeah, the runs that I edited all had sort of like a background picture and text with drop shadows and all that. 'Cause it was
Yeah,
really fancy.
Look at this. This was look at this. This is
Oh.
King Euro CCal
Oh,
125
yeah.
at the time. Look at that.
Oh,
That's
Look
good
at that
shit.
editing.
Look at that.
oh yeah.
That was just mwah at the time.
Oh, that was
Yeah.
Chef's kiss.
Look
Oh my
at listen
God.
to
No
the
one even
comments
noticed
on
that
this video, by the way.
Spelt the username wrong before.
Was it
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Was anyone impressed by it? But yeah, I think you noticed it. You're like, sorry, fixing it now. So I think you put an annotation over the username.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And obviously annotations on YouTube aren't a thing
Mine,
anymore, so
yeah.
you wouldn't be able to to see that. But oh, look at this! Look at this table of Group D after match or before match. Ooh, look at that.
Ooh.
Recorded by C.
I,
Look at that. That's good.
yeah. Fun fact, I think I actually made that subscription as well.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did it. Well, I thought when I edited my first match with Caboose, I thought let's make it a bit presentable, like because we had access to the channel, like people were taking part pretty much. So I
And
uploaded that first
hold
video.
on, before you go on, we'll talk about what happens when every single speedrunner gets access to the channel. As far as I'm aware, because this tournament was uploaded to the Spyro Speedruns YouTube channel, which was the community hub channel, if you will, because that's where you did all your Sims 1
Yeah.
races and your Croc races and all that stuff. But going on after this, the channels, like every tournament would get its own channel. And we'll talk a bit about that, foreshadowing, stick around for that.
Because why not just start from the start again and again and again and again?
Yeah,
you
why
know?
not make a brand new channel every...
Yeah.
Well, actually, though, I mean, I think hindsight proved that was a good idea because of all the
Yeah.
videos that would get deleted
Yes,
over the
yes.
years.
I mean, imagine
I
if
think-
this Spyro Speedruns channel was deleted.
Oh,
Go about.
there's so much stuff on there. I mean, yeah, hopefully it never does, but shit.
Isn't
is,
that, wasn't that part of the reason, sorry to cut across you, but wasn't that part of the reason why Ratchet made separate channels was in the event that something like that might happen, or am I giving them too much credit?
No, that was totally exactly why.
have to
He was
assume
worried
so, yeah.
about the...
Yeah.
Because at this time, right, you have to remember we were still organizing. I mean, I wasn't here obviously, but I was aware of the management of how this sort of thing happens, where everyone
Yeah.
would be in Skype groups. You'd be on Skype, and Skype is awful for managing large groups of people. It's really bad for it. You can't get anything done. So what you do is you give like the password to like whoever's around. Like, hey, look, do your video, upload it, whatever. And you're dealing with time zones and everything like that, so you don't really want to concern yourself with that shit. So, but
So what was Exploit 1080's involvement in the management side of IAS? Was he involved in that? Because I mean, he was in practically every speedrun in the pre IAS.
No.
No, okay.
so when
I
did
don't think
he
he was
sort of like
involved at any
drop
point.
off the map?
Roughly around that time, I think.
So as soon as this tournament started getting competitive, he disappeared because Exploit 1080 was quite like prolific as like a YTP MVer as well. Like that was his big claim to fame, was he did like a lot of like, you know, those sorts of things. And I remember like, because when I started in the community in around 2011, I want to say, or 2010, but you know, more towards 2011, he was like vaguely there still, and he would like send the odd like half-finished YTP MV to you. Like I remember he sent me this Owen one like once to Mega
He just
Man.
wasn't in. Yeah, he just didn't care about being in the tournaments or doing speedruns. But he was there. He was still on Skype. He was still being put into group calls and all that. So
Yep, I can attest to that because I joined well in and around the same time as Angus, but I remember him being a presence for the first few months of my experience in the community. But I think what happened was obviously he was very active initially. I think he kind of got this whole I'm too cool for this kind of thing. I don't mean in a bad way, but I always got the sense that he kind of ended up looking down and kind of being like, oh, speedruns, oh that shit, you know, that's stupid, that's for babies kind of thing. Like he YTPMVs is what the cool kids do.
But he was quite well known for those too. Like he was actually semi famous. I remember there was a channel that uploaded Guru Larry Boggle Flash YTPMVs. And I remember his famously was like the most viewed one on there. Do you remember this? There used to be channels for specific YTPMV.
There was a like he just sort of removed himself off the internet probably 6-7 years ago now. But there was a channel that cropped up of just someone downloaded all of his videos before he removed everything. So it's just a channel called something like Exploit 1080 re-upload.
Oh, is it? Let me find this. I'm gonna go find this. Let's watch. Let me see if I can find one of his YTPMVs because he was quite good at them. And
if you just search Boggle Flash,
Oh yeah, let's have a look. Let's find the Boggle Flash one. That was quite. I tried making one. I could never do it.
Andrew was saying something.
I find it interesting looking at some of the early uploads as well. We'll go through the structure of the tournament, I think, next.
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof. But interestingly enough, looking through the comments, like, for example, in my group C, Onage3403 versus Nemesis 120, who's from, I think, Macedonia, and Onage was from England. Yep. And it's interesting, there's a comment from 2 years ago that says, from Ryan Hayden saying, dude, I miss Onage3403. I don't know why he deleted his videos, but I was devastated when I couldn't find him on YouTube anymore. Rip the Ratchet and Clank God. And it has a bunch of likes on it, which is just fascinating to me to think that like some of these people actually sort of became something in that time. Yeah. And this is a comment that's only 2 years old on an 11-year-old video.
That's crazy.
So it's really interesting to think some of the people that were big, you know, in this series.
That's what I always forget. I always forget that because I always thought like, oh, we just put it on YouTube so we could watch amongst ourselves, right? Of the things, but it did actually get an audience, and then all the some of the people that took part also had like a bit of a YouTube audience as well. Like again, Mr. 100p had a pretty relatively successful YouTube LP channel. Again, Exploit 1080 was got a fair number of views, like tens of thousands, which was a big deal then.
Mention our own CrystalFissure, of course, is big now.
Yes,
and also,
if you want to Lucas, like he's been watching these speedruns for years and years, hasn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean there are people who are in ISGP now who watched like 10 years ago, which sort of blows my mind. But I mean also there are people like Samurai Man as well, who is like a gargantuan speedrunner. Like
the best that we've ever had.
Yeah, he won. He was in the in I'm a Speedrunner 5, and he then went on to become like the best Super Mario Sunshine speedrunner of all time, basically.
Oh yeah, I did. I didn't know that he was in I'm a Speedrunner.
Yeah. We used to call him
Oh my God,
Samura
really?
One
Wow,
Man,
okay.
but yeah, Samurai Man.
Yes, we're one man.
All right, so
Yeah.
let's we'll talk about the sort of structure or lack thereof of the tournaments in a second. But I've got just a brief 13-second intermission for you. This is called "With Boggle Flash" by Exploit 1080. Let's revisit this hidden gem. Here we go.
Boggle Flash.
It's not bad.
And I remember we used to argue on Skype about what he was saying at the end because I was like,
Yes, I was gonna say that. Yeah.
What was it? What
I
did
was
he
like,
say? Was
He's
it?
saying
he
it's
said-
incredible.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, it's taxing Boggle. I said, no, he's saying taxing Boggle.
It's fixing Boggle, is it not fixing Boggle?
Yeah. No, he
It
says
was
it's
really- it was-
incredible.
There's a few things I fucking remember of like these Skype calls from like 11 years ago, but I that was a heated discussion, and I was
Yes.
like, he's obviously saying it's incredible.
Yeah.
Like it was
I know.
like I'm gonna block you off Skype kind of heated.
Yeah,
was-
I refused to believe it, and I was like, no, he's not. Like, he's clearly not saying that. Like, I'm trying to do my old like 2010 voice. Like, he's clearly not saying that.
Yeah,
But here we go.
Or
Look,
American,
I found the original video.
Yeah.
Let's listen carefully and settle this once and for all. What's he saying? Here we go. What's it?
Boffin type people have decided to give it a 21st century makeover with Boggle Flash.
He's not saying. Okay. So I can confirm.
Fuck
that
you, Angus.
first-
Don't even dare. Don't even fucking dare.
What he says before fixing Boggle is they're giving it a makeover, right? He says that they're giving it a makeover. So why would he then say taxing Boggle? What the fuck?
No.
Like it's fixing Boggle, is it not? I don't know.
Yeah.
No, he's not saying. Angus, you're doing this
it's
to wind me up.
incredible.
You're-
He is
yeah,
saying
you're
it's
doing this-
incredible. Yeah.
You're doing this to wind me up, Angus. I know what you're doing.
I have maintained since that video that he's saying fixing. Anyway, that's a whole
Angus,
other.
I'll leave this call right now.
We'll have a conversation. We'll do we'll have like an extra, like a part B, 1B extra. We'll just only talk about that. But yeah, CrystalFissure. Let's talk about the history of the first I'm a Speedrunner tournament, because there's lots to talk about with this one. And we'll quickly, talk about some of the people that were in the tournament, because there's some names from the past that we haven't mentioned yet, like Crash Pro 3. I mean, you guys remember Crash Pro 3? Luke?
And at the
Oh,
time, he was one of
yes.
the more popular people.
Yes.
Yes, there was
Yeah,
there's
another
a bit of a
popular
meme,
person.
like Crash Pro 3 was like a big kind of like Sony fanboy, and I remember there was like some E3 thing or some probably E3, and
Yeah.
it became a bit of a meme. Like I hope if something like really minor happened, it became a meme of saying I hope that guy got because it was like in E3 or something. It was like they cut to the right. They pulled a bit of an Angus where they cut to like the wrong scene or the wrong camera. So for like 3 seconds, and he completely with no sense of. He wasn't being ironic or stupid. Like he wasn't memeing. He was saying, "Oh, someone would have got fired for that." So it became a community meme of like there's something very like someone accidentally put like 5 seconds of black space at the end of a video or something. Ratchet's gonna get fired for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, they're completely Crash Pro 3. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I have a
that-
few things about him as well.
Oh, let's go.
Oh,
Go,
yeah,
Luke.
go, you can go first. You go first.
Well, it's more. I think it happened more after I'm a Speedrunner 1. But I think a lot of you may remember that I was friends with Alex, who was Trailer Master 10,
Yes, of course.
Yep. Yeah.
who's still around. Fun fact. So obviously he's Crash Pro 3, and he's got 3 of his mates. Like I think it's real life mates that had like similar names, like following the Pro 3 name more or less. I think like Pokemon Pro 3 and one other person.
Was PlayStation Pro 3 an account, or was that a fake account Bandy created? I can't remember.
I don't know about
This
that
is
one.
related to. This is related. Luke, go on, because I know what he's gonna. I know what it is.
Yeah, you know what I'm going. Yeah. So I decided, why don't I create something called Medieval Pro 3? which is quite funny actually, because obviously obviously way many years after that, I actually started doing like proper medieval speedrunners. But yeah, I created that just as a bit of a laugh in that, and I was going to upload medieval Let's Play. Makes sense, right? Because medieval Pro 3. Anyway, so literally a few days after that, he contacted me, being very very mad. Very angry with what I did, and I think he threatened to sue me over that trademark name, supposedly.
Yeah.
And I just thought, are you out of your mind, son? But I thought it's not worth the stress, so I just thought, fuck it, I'm deleting the channel.
I think that was like one of the like first instances of
Yes.
drama.
Yes,
it was
because it is the first thing I remember. Like, the first drama I remember is that, and also that Bandy and Caboose hated each other. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Oh god, that's another story as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, it was actually some people, what they cite as joining the community. I believe it's Fraser. I think it's Mr. Fraser Films 2009 who was in this tournament we're about to say, now known as Fromond. He found the community through Crash Pro 3's live stream, and I think I actually did see that as well. I feel like I actually saw something to do with Crash Pro 3 around that time as well, like some kind of live stream. So Crash Pro 3 was instrumental in bringing a couple people together, it all kind of mashed into one sort of community by the time we got to.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like, I don't want to, like, he was a really nice guy, and like those live streams, he did like 24-hour charity live streams that were like really pretty damn successful. They had like, it sounds a bit silly now, but they had a fair few hundred sort of concurrent viewers, which was huge back then. If you had a live stream with like 200, 300. That was massive.
Well, that was Ustream, of course, which doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. And I remember, like...
he had very good production quality as well, didn't he?
Yeah. And that was, before XSplit, before OBS. They were really good live streams. And I remember, like, 7 in the morning or whatever, and he was, like, someone was going to co-commentate, but they weren't there or whatever. Me and Crash Pro barely ever talked to anything like that, but he let me co-commentate on that stream, and that was that was like a really like all this shit that happened like 10, 11, 12 years ago. I remember that because that was like 200. That was really amazing. I was like, and I was really grateful to him to sort of just give me a chance to be honest, and it was just so much fun as well. They were really good live streams. So like. Yeah, the trademark thing was stupid.
I think his problem. He took himself too
stand-up
seriously,
guy, like,
didn't he?
Yeah, nice guy. I think he still live streams.
He is still active-ish on Twitch. He's Cast Coder now, is what his name is. So he also looks frighteningly like Dr. Monkey Man, in my opinion. I feel like they're really similar.
Yeah, it's really funny with him, Crash Pro, because I always considered him to be, like, community adjacent. Like, he was around, but, like, you couldn't pin him down. Like, he wouldn't just shoot the shit in, like, a Skype call with you or anything.
Yeah.
Like, he was more of, like, a hardcore, like, I don't know, like, I remember him being, like, quite successful, like, at that time. Yeah. Like, he had, like, maybe 1,500 subscribers in, like, 2010, 11, something like that, which was quite big for then.
You know what's funny? I will say this. I actually was one of the few people that spoke to Crash Pro 3. One of my early calls was, I think it was me, someone else, and Crash and Cody. And we were counting down it was like 4 p.m. my time, 4:30, counting down, because he was in LA, I think, or West Coast at least, counting down to his 15th birthday, I think it was, or 16th birthday, something like that. So I remember being in the call for his birthday. So yeah, he actually was online occasionally, but yeah, I agree, kind of community adjacent. As we're looking through some of the lists here, Ragged Star, who was a popular like AMV YouTuber, she used to make like edits of things with like, music videos and stuff like that. Again, she was someone that was around. She was in my very first ever Skype call I ever had, which is my race against her in Group C. So yeah,
never uploaded. Sadly,
what was that?
Never uploaded. Sadly,
never uploaded. Yeah,
that's always been my thing too. Is like, the first I'm a Speedrunner tournament, we were less strict on like videos being uploaded to the channel, right? So if you look, like, I'm looking right here, right? There was like Teal Game Master versus Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12, like missing. No video. It never showed up. Same with like Fraser, Mr. Fraser Films versus Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12 in 2009. Like that's like a holy grail of a video if that like was ever.
And as well, what's the difference on our wiki? Shout out to our wiki between missing and no video. Like they're essentially no video regardless.
I think
I recall.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
I recall, if I remember correctly, one of my very old memory sticks. I think I still have one of the old races that's not uploaded currently. It was the Triple Threat with me and Inada and Owen, I believe.
Oh yes.
Which I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, throughout the course of that race, they were arguing non-stop.
That sounds
you've got to find it. You've got to find it. But yeah, but going on to just go on to the some videos weren't edited. It was like you got to remember that like uploading your share of uploading your gameplay, this big multi-hour long process.
Yes, it was.
Them downloading it was this big multi-hour process. Then you've got to find someone that will actually edit it, and then they've got to then we were all using shit PCs then. We weren't mid-20s going on 30. We didn't have these like big gaming PCs that we bought since. So you'd have to then sit and let Windows Movie Maker or Vegas run for half for it to render it out, and then you've got to upload it, which is another couple. So there was like always a big push to get stuff on the channel.
Yeah, it's a miracle races like this one.
Yeah, it was just this. It was this big kind of undertaking to actually do that.
Yeah, it was. We understate that a lot. I mean, I recall like I just got this on as a bit of flavor. This is Bionicle versus XXX Masterize XXX. But we used to get like Australian internet especially. There was a big meme about Australian internet at the time, which was like we would have the slowest internet of anyone, and also unlimited data plans in Australia weren't a thing in 2009, 2010. So, like, unless you had, like, if you had 100 gigabytes of data, like, per month to use, like, you were god among men. I think CrystalFissure had, like, 100 gigabytes. He never got capped.
150 gig once, yeah.
We had, like, huge. 20 gigabytes or 50 gigabytes for, like, 8 people or something like that in my family. And I was always routinely getting capped, like, 20 days into the month. And you'd have like 10 days of like the slowest internet where you like if you wanted if there was a tournament going on when you got capped, you would have to
you're out.
You're fucked basically because you'd have to like sit around and like upload and then upload overnight and then go to school, leave your computer on, and when you come home from school, maybe it was almost 50% done. It was incredible.
It was on that one wiki that was deleted. I think it was the Crass wiki. It was an article. Was the like Australian internet? Like it was just this infamous thing. Yeah. And I'll never forget Ratchet's like one of his Skype statuses because he was always getting capped. And one of his Skype statuses was Fkin uncapped, not like fucking uncapped, but Fkin uncapped. And I can, for the VOD, hopefully you're seeing it now. I'm going to try and send Angus that Skype status because I did screenshot it. It's on my Google Drive somewhere. And it was Fkin uncapped, all caps. It was good shit.
That'd be fantastic. Well, you saw there.
Whenever an Australian didn't want to join a Skype call, it was always the excuse of, I don't want to use my bandwidth, my allowance. It's like you're full of shit. Fuck. Like,
I mean, we couldn't
how
host
much of your allowance does Skype actually use?
You could
that was the excuse you always willed out.
But if you hosted though, you would have to like. You would have to be using like your bandwidth, and you could never host while you were capped. I remember that. Anyway, let's have a look at the wiki for the first time speedrunner tournament. We're kind of the preamble for this tournament is there's not a lot to really say about this tournament because it was the first one. It was like a real testing ground. But I mean, there's like the entrance is in a nice little table there. Hello J Finch is a weird one because he was like he was there and then he wasn't there and then he came back and Bionicle 2809 was a recurring character. I think you're still in touch. Aren't you, Owen? Oh, no,
yes,
You're with Owen, yeah. And Ragged Star.
The British.
The British
Yes,
Meanies, yes. There was
please.
a group we called the British Meanies, which was Mr. 100% Gamer. Well, Caboose Mill was adjacent, and then it was you.
I was in it. I could explain the origin of that.
Where are you?
Honorary British meanie by way of English mother. Yes,
That's
I
true.
remember. But I could very briefly explain. Saggers on Dazzy's channel referred to us as the British meanies, and he spelled British with 2 T's, so it
Yes.
was always 2 T's. Yeah, so that was our interaction.
I guess the real thing about, I'm a Speedrunner 1, the first one, it was a Spyro tournament. Luke, if you have any interesting stories, please share them, because I'm very vague on this first tournament. I've not gone out of my way to watch all 8 parts of the grand final, even though I've had 11 years to watch them. But...
Yeah, it's... Sorry, my name's not Luke, but...
yes, Luke. Go.
But I will say, it's difficult to talk about the first one. Sorry, Luke, I'll stop interrupting you, but like, it's difficult to say much about the first one because that was before any of there wasn't really any drama. There was a big thing for parodying songs at one point, but that was not in the first tournament. And again, it was just no one really took, well, no one ever took it seriously, of course not, but like it was just a kind of like it was sort of like just making more formal the dumb little occasional speedruns we would do just for an excuse to have a Skype group call. So, there's not a whole lot to say about the first one.
The fact that it
Luke,
existed itself was the novelty. But yeah, Luke, if you've got any interesting tidbits before we move on, please share them.
Okay, so Jesus, if we're talking pure tournament, I remember I actually celebrated my birthday at the time for doing my first race. Actually, I'm fairly sure I just turned 17 or something.
Yes, this tournament went from December 17, 2009 to January 13, 2010.
So yeah, I would have just turned 17. Bloody hell. So the final. I mean, the cut straight to the chase regarding the final. My opponent had the zombie glitch, I think, where I don't know how it works, but basically it's like he couldn't die no matter what. So he tried to jump off one of the platforms, down below and trying to reset where he was. But because he had that glitch, he kept falling and falling and falling and falling, and he couldn't continue, basically. Now, if this happened today, obviously I would have said, like, let's just restart the race. Because obviously he couldn't help it. But we didn't do that. We just thought, fuck it, we'll just carry on. So I obviously eventually went on to finish the race, and I was I won the first tournament. But apparently, I think it was so the gold dart race was basically any percent. But we said it, beat Nasty Nog. And apparently, we didn't realize this, but afterwards, that would actually be the fastest any percent time. Because obviously, back then, Spyro speedrunning in a competitive way was non-existent. Literally, what we were doing was the closest thing to, like, pro runs. So because I technically finished the run, I actually had the world record of any percent, even though it's rubbish.
Could you claim it, though?
That reminds me of going back to, like, we never really thought about that much, but like other people, not in the community or in these, they watch these YouTube videos. Like you occasionally, I'm a speedrunner gets a shout out in some, well, obviously not unlikely places, but stuff like I'm pretty sure in Games Done Quickly or Games Done Quick, whatever, it's been mentioned.
I think it has.
And like,
really? I
really?
remember,
yeah,
like. There, as we've had lots of successful, like, people go on to do successful things from the tournament, and I do remember around this time, like, I think Luke, you, and Ratchet were actual serious contenders for the Spyro 1 any percent record.
Yes,
anyway,
we were.
Anyway,
We
this is the glitch right here, by the way, as you're seeing on the screen, and CrystalFissure, I just saw it as before. Commented, why didn't you just exit the level? Why didn't he just exit the level? why didn't he just pause and exit? I don't understand. He just stopped recording.
I don't know if he could have paused it, could he?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I might be wrong there, but I don't think he was able to pause the game.
I mean, you were a good deal ahead of him anyway. Like, you were like 10 dragons ahead of him. I mean, I've never seen this glitch in my life, by the way.
I have never even been fucking replicated. Like, I mean, what the hell?
It has
incredible.
various times, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it just keeps going. I thought it was
Luke, you're
finished.
supposed to say no, it hasn't been,
Yeah.
so we could, you know, like, be like
Yeah.
whoa.
Oh no.
It must be
Well,
rare, though. I mean,
In terms of accidental, yeah, but that's the only time it's happened.
I see. So
Crazy. And of course, before we go on, Angus, I must refer to the infamous meme. This is a fucking war cry every time I joined one of my first Skype calls was, I lost because of glitch, which was making fun of Juhis, who apparently said that at some stage. I don't recall hearing it in this video, but maybe he said after the fact, I lost because of glitch, and Bandy would not stop
Oh, I
saying
found it. Hold on.
that.
I found it.
He did-
I found where he said it. Listen to this. It's
Yeah.
fucking awesome. Okay.
Oh my god.
You ready for this?
Yep.
I'm going to
glitch.
I'm going to
Luke
wait.
is one because of glitch of Humulate.
I'm going to wait until he speaks us, you know, before
Luke is
I
one
reveal him.
because of glitch.
That's what he said. He
Yes,
didn't
you
say
can
I-
hear.
he didn't say I
You can
lost
hear the
because
fin.
of He said, see, that's
I
a
love
Mandela
Bandy,
effect.
I love Bandy, but like he really had a knack. He really had a knack for taking something that was kind of funny and that like we would occasionally reference and running it so far into the ground it came out like
Yeah, I know.
it was- yeah.
Guilty of that.
Well,
It's,
I lost because of glitch. That was like such a like. We were saying that years after that, honestly.
Yeah.
I fucking wasn't.
You were
I
probably
wasn't
sick of it.
saying
But
that. Yeah. Oh.
all right. So
It's
that
like, and like he'll come up with these Bandy original jokes as well, like sagas and saggy.
Sagas and-
and
Well,
he would
actually,
also
you wanna talk about-
he would
Crash Bandy Spyro 12. Actually, we can quickly have like a little aside between. Before we jump into I'm A Speedrunner 2, we could talk about Crash Bandy Spyro 12 because I just today stumbled upon one of his old channels, and this has got some gold shit from like
Oh, would.
yeah.
2010,
Yeah.
including
The one with his phone number.
What's that?
The one with his phone number. That was one of his side channels. Was this his,
Oh
his
yes,
phone
yes,
number?
yes. But here we go. This is the musical stylings of Crash Bandy Spyro 12. Are you ready for this?
Oh.
Oh, I think one of the first instances of a parody song.
I would imagine so. The faces are Nasty Dog 97, Super Mo, Max Gruber, and Ratchet 5.
He got some saggy tits, and we know who he is.
Very good.
He thinks the internet is some serious business.
Oh, okay, I can't listen to that anymore. That was Mamma Mia. The parody was Mama Sagas, because of course there was a who makes his debut, funnily enough, nice segue, in the second I'm A Speedrunner tournament, I'm A Speedrunner 2. We saw the debut of the eponymous Sagas from the song Mama Sagas.
Oh,
What can we say about Sagas? What's
well, there's sorry,
I
just to
misunderstood
bring it
young
with
child.
Bandy.
Oh yes, Bandy.
There's the Sagas at a cafe. Sagas at the cafe.
Oh.
Well, Sagas at the cafe
It's-
was you made the dumbest joke ever. Oh, Sagas at the cafe, and he's like, "I'll make that," which I think
No, I don't pin this on me. I didn't do anything.
I believe
I'm
you
not
said
responsible
like he
for
wouldn't be
that.
stupid enough to make Sagas at the cafe, and then he did.
all I remember, me and Al, like we reminisced about the Bandyisms probably about a year or so ago, and I just remember like we said like Bandy was so. Again, I love Bandy. He's a great guy, right? But at that time, he really had a knack for being so unfunny
Yes.
that it became
Yes.
funny.
Yes.
Like it was like this, it was like anti-funny. Like it was like a dark
Yes.
comedy.
I think I
Yes.
know what you're building
So
up to.
it's-
Are you referring to that Skype call at 2 a.m.?
Yeah. It was. I think I was probably drunk at the time, but it was like
Yeah.
a Dada-esque like art where it's
Yes.
so anti-art that it becomes
Yeah.
art. It is so unfunny. He was such an unfunny person that he became hilarious.
Oh yeah.
It was just the sheer unfunniness of Sagas
Yes.
was.
I I just played a bit of
chef's
Sagas
kiss.
at the cafe, but all these videos we talk about, I'll link in the description if you want to go check them out yourself. The thing about Crash
I must underline though the Skype call that Christian refers to. There was this we were awake at 2 or 3 a.m. and Bandy just mic spammed this Saggers at the cafe, and Christian and I, who had been talking about how unfunny it was, just burst into laughter because of how purely unfunny this is at 3 a.m. for this guy to still be spamming it. We just burst into laughter, and he was satisfied because he thought, oh, they find it. Yeah, it was really late. I remember it was really late, and Christian and I were just laughing uncontrollably because we had just been talking about how unfunny it was, and then there it is, still being spammed, and it was therefore, as he says, dadaism at its finest. From Bandy. So,
this is Crash Bandicoot 12, by the way. This gentleman here.
But he always created drama. He was always the central drama. But we kept him around because he was just it was like.
He was hilarious.
So really funny,
Yeah, he was, I really if I'm talking about people at that time that I could consider I would love to just hang out with you and have a beer or something. He was right up there. And I was we were actually in preliminary conversations talking about one day meeting up.
He was part of the initial discussions of meetups. He was.
Oh yeah.
I mean, technically, the first ever one was John and Christian. Was you guys, followed by Angus and Ratchet. But the early 2011, basically early to mid 2011, there was plans for me, Angus, Bandy, basically Bandy to come to Australia or us to go to Israel.
I remember 16-year-old white Australian guys going to Israel. What can go wrong?
I'm proudly the first ever meetup.
Yes, well, that will come in, I guess, part 2 of this. We'll talk about the history of meetups in the community. But for now, we'll talk about I'm a Speedrunner 2, which I have up in my... there's CrystalFissure. There's I'm a Speedrunner 2, which was the first Crash Bandicoot tournament. It's funny that we're doing we're doing ISGP Super Crash League right now, which is ongoing at the time of recording this. But this was the second tournament. It was the Crash Bandicoot tournament, which was a bit of a shift because at that time the community was more, I guess, would you guys say, it was more of a 3D platformer community than a Spyro community, even though the channel was called Spyro Speedruns.
It was PlayStation, it was just
PS1 stuff,
Yeah, it really was, and that was the impetus to this. By the way, these where was it? These logos were created after the fact. This was not created in 2010.
I was gonna say that's
too nice. That's
too good. Yeah.
That was, and I believe. Do you see that Crash Bandicoot with the jetpack? That I believe was one of CrystalFissure's rips from the game. In 2011, he went through and did a bunch of image rips. But that was made by Lyle Bandicoot 93. But yes, so this tournament was the Crash Bandicoot tournament, and True Halo Master 10, your friend, made his debut in this one, and he did very well. But also, the Sagas 1997, we should probably mention him, because he was a figure of great... I don't know, what could you say? What would you say about Sagas? What's the prevailing legacy of
controversy?
Controversy?
Controversy, unfairly so, because he was, 12? In hindsight, it's just, ridiculous, how he got bullied the fuck out of it. Even in the grand final, you'll hear Bandy just say "saggy tits," and he's there.
And then not Sagas. The best thing about the Sagas incident is not Sagas. Where we viciously bullied someone who wasn't Sagas for being Sagas. To the point where he made a very hilariously angry video declaring that he is not Sagas, which, despite his very clear English accent and not being Sagas, only made us more sure that he was indeed Sagas.
I need to find. I'm furiously typing. I believe that video is on CRAS. I hope it is anyway. I'm trying to find it. This video needs to be.
I've got a perfect picture of it in my head. The lilac painted walls, the giant Spyro decal.
Oh, I
I'm
can't
gonna
find
point
it.
that out. I'm gonna point that out. That is truly one of the most impressive dedication to Spyro fandom I've ever seen. Like literally,
Yes.
like blown up 600 DPI images of like 3D Spyro. I don't know where the fuck he got it from.
This,
Like,
okay,
it's
we need to
insane.
find this video because I can't seem to find. It's not on Seagrass.
There is a
But they're
parody
very
on my channel, Simply40 013. There is a parody of it on there still, I believe.
I just remembered, like he's there with his sort of like West Country accent, and it's like he's very clearly not Sagas.
No,
that's
not West Country. No.
Oh, here it is.
He's from Bolton.
Is this? Oh, this okay. This is not the original, but this is like some parody.
There it is.
Okay. Anyway, I'll stop on a pre-screen. So this gentleman here, Nasty Dork 97, who went on to become quite a Tom Hillary. His name is
Respected musician.
Respected musician.
Really
I mean, look at that.
Good guy.
Fan of ants. He loved
Yes,
his,
fan of
ants.
ants.
And England.
Ants England. So this poor gentleman was we confused. No, we didn't confuse him. We knew he wasn't.
No,
Sagas.
I'll explain. I know exactly what it is. I've got this one. Okay. So we had the Sagas 1997. Okay, he was like a guy who had been a thorn in people's side because, for me personally, I've been commenting on Dazzy's channel, trying to give him advice and stuff on life because that's what a 17-year-old does for a man in 24 or 23. Is advises him on his life, and then the Saggers told me to stop because I was being a troll, and then obviously that drew my ire. So the Saggers, so you have that kid. He's like the center of like all of this like hate from like me and other people as well because they just found him annoying, and he's just this like poor like 12-year-old kid at the end of the day. But that's him. So one day he decides to close his YouTube channel and leave Skype forever. He said, I'm gone. Okay, this is in maybe like mid 2010, in and around when IAS2 was happening, if I'm not mistaken. And then unfortunately, Nasty Nork 97. So remember, the Saggers 1997. Then Nasty Nork 97 pops up, and I think he had one of them early YouTube like spam things where he was accidentally spamming people's comments or something like, and then I remember I fucking like a hawk that's just seen like a rat from like 100 meters away. I just swooped in on his channel comments like, we know you're Saggers, like, and everyone else just followed me, leading the charge, calling him Saggers, and he's like, what's a Saggers? And we just all insisted that this kid was Saggers, to the point where, as Christian said, he had to make a video saying, I'm not Saggers, this is my room, this is Tar. And that only convinced me more. Convinced me more. And I said, "Oh, Saggers has obviously got his English friend to make a video." Like, I was still convinced. I was absolutely positive. I was like, "No, he's got this kid to make this video for him to like throw us off the scent. It's Saggers." I was convinced, but it was actually just it was the worst timing imaginable for this fucking poor kid. I apologize to Tom Hillary for that whole thing.
Yeah, he was just a Spyro super fan who loved Spyro the Dragon and threw it on YouTube and found this fun community he could be part of other people that enjoy Spyro the Dragon, and you fucking ruined his life out.
You did.
Yes, I did. Yes, he never got to perform for the Manchester Orchestra. He's actually like a conductor now.
He is. Yeah.
Poor Saggers. So I guess
I want to clarify before we go on, Angus. Tom Hillary and I we were cool after the fact, and we had some Skype calls. It's all good.
Yes.
Water under the bridge, so
I
no problem there. So it's all good.
I remember Tom Hillary. Yeah, he was a cool guy. We actually did speak a lot. Actually, I remember him making like, I don't know, he was working on like Spyro, like making like his own orchestral version of Spyro, and I was in a call with him one time, and he was like, "Oh, does this sound right? Does this sound right?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, that's pretty good." But yeah, no, he's a good guy. See, this is the thing, right? There was a reputation for like, certain members of the community at the time being like, cyber bullies, if you want to call it that. But and then it did like scare, I think, a lot of people off, like Saggers. To this day, if I ever see him online or if any of us message him, he will never respond to you ever. You can't.
That's right. I personally, as that tangent, I spoke to him. He was after my first calls with Ragnarstar and everything. The only 2 calls I had for the entirety of 2010 before the Ratchet 5 live stream, which is after IAS2 around 3, which we'll get to. I had 2 calls with Saggers, and we talked about just life, everything like that. I personally got along with him super, super well. I was never involved in any name calling or any jokes with that kind of thing. It just was not.
He was not. I can vouch for him. He was not involved in any of it whatsoever.
Just from probably just not being around, like that's it's not to absolve myself.
But you wouldn't have done that anyway. You would not have done that anyway because that wasn't your. That's not who you were. So I'll back you up.
Thank you for that. But the thing is about that is that so we I would say we were friends. Yeah, but to that point, I have messaged him multiple times under his new username, which I won't say, on Reddit. And we actually have a mutual interest in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which is actually a niche topic, and he will not respond. So it's one of those things where what has happened there, whether it was right or wrong, did scare people off, absolutely. And we can't take away from the aspect that, what we did, some people and what sort of things happened, it did alienate certain people. That'll come up more in IAS5 era, but that's just what happened.
Now, let me talk to you guys about people that didn't get alienated from us in IAS2, who are still around to this day. So, let me list off. This is interesting. So, of the people who were in this tournament, which ran from July 7, 2010 to September 14, 2010, these are the people who are still actually in the community right now. So, we have, obviously, Luke and Christian, who are here in this call. But also, this tournament saw the debut of Yogamonyo. So he's been around that long, that guy. Crash the Hedgehog, a.k.a. Manai Doctor, who was also been around that long.
Mayo Doctor.
Mayo Doctor. Meow Meow Club 2 debuted in this tournament. And so did Dessert Monkey JK as well. So, that's what, how many people is that? Let me count. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people out of 24 who are still actually around and contributing members. They're not just there. Also, someone who signed up to the tournament, Mr. Fraser Films, signed up to the tournament but did not compete in the tournament. He was replaced.
That's right. And Extreme Video Gamer 321, who was replaced. Crash Pro 3 joined but quit. Super Mode 1985, who we all know about. He friend of Saggers, he quit.
Friend of Saggers.
A lot of people quit, which is really interesting to talk about that point about churn and who was there. So that's the thing. IS1 to 2, there's a lot of people that didn't come back. I was actually in Europe at the time, and so it's interesting to see how many people.
The voice break holiday, yes. To Italy,
wait a minute,
right?
Hold on.
Or
Spain.
Spain.
I wasn't in Europe yet. If it says July 7, but. Yeah, I wasn't in Europe, but I was busy with.
His voice broke during the holiday, by the way, because there's a literal you can hear in this in Fissure Spyro parts. There's one where it's high pitched, and the next it's hold on, run to CrystalFissure, and even in the comments,
part 13 to part 14, I think that's where it was. Yeah,
and in the comments, literally someone says "Hey, what happened to your voice?" People notice it at the time too. As well.
Now,
sorry, continue, Andrew. Just wanted to.
No. That's all I had to say. Yeah,
gentlemen, should we take a second to watch an excerpt from a Crash Bandicoot 2 speedrun, a Crash Bandicoot speedrun from Spyro IAS2, just for context. I found one.
I'll go on.
This is a good one. We just talked about Sagas. This is one of Saga's finest hours. Let's just take a listen real quick.
Daniel at Crash. What the fuck just happened?
Those names.
Has anyone told you sound like I lost because of glitch.
Hear that? I lost because of glitch. He said it.
Oh Jesus.
Oh no.
I'm surprised that's not the choice quote on the wiki.
For the tournament.
My emulator
he repeated the quote from. By the way, I picked that out completely at random, which shows you how overplayed that meme was.
Yes.
But
I was going to say, sorry, just very quickly.
Yeah.
They're going back to a new channel for every tournament. That kind of day one essentially, because this was held on the Speedruns.
SS Speedruns, SS Speedruns.
Yeah.
Split screen.
Not the greatest name for for the channel. But
Speedruns. Yeah. Now the thing with this tournament was with the Crash Bandicoot tournament, and Al was
Sorry, I never thought about that. Continue.
Well, I'll bring you in on this one because I know you and I weren't in this tournament. But
I was watching.
You were watching. You were a fan. I was a fan of Ratchet 5's 2 at this time. I became a fan of his around February 2010 because my brother was playing Muppet Race Mania, which we'll talk about a bit later probably too.
Yep.
But Muppet Race Mania was a favorite of mine as a kid, and my brother was looking up a walkthrough for it, and the only walkthrough of Muppet Race Mania on YouTube was Ratchet 5's. So I started watching him around that time, but I wasn't like really on Skype at all really. But I was aware of the tournament. But
so I was just gonna say that Muppet Race Mania LP wasn't instant for like 5 years on. For about 1,000 LP parts for half a decade, it was an institution.
Yes.
I remember with that Let's Play too, the Muppet Race Mania Let's Play, was that I was watching it, right? So it started like only maybe 15 or 16 parts in when I first started watching it. By the time like 2 years had passed, he was up to part 150. I was down with him in Sydney in a Let's Play. Co-oping with him on the multiplayer for a Let's Play
prettiest girl in the dance.
I had watched 2 years ago. It was so surreal to me to be there for that. But yeah, we were talking about this tournament before in a bit of vodcast ramble, and Al brought up the fact that IAS2 had such a weird grand final situation. Would you care to?
And I'm gonna quickly preface this, Al, just by pointing this out. Look at some of the people that lost 3 matches, right? People like Howland J. Finch, 3 losses. Random 1827, 3 losses. This is in round 1. Desert Monkey JK, our very own based Adam, 3 losses, 0 wins. We just Crass Hiss, right? You'll hiss, as he would probably say. He won all 3 of his matches before he quit. I want to talk just real quick and say that this guy would have ended up probably the most successful speedrunner in the early days if he didn't quit. If you actually think about it, this guy would have fucking torn up everyone. Because as you say, he lost because of glitch. In Spyro 1. And so
Luke would have won anyway.
No, Luke would have won, but he would. I think he would have kept getting to the grand final. I think.
Yeah.
He's very good.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
So the qualification situation for this tournament was so bizarre. So the grand final ended up being Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12, LukeRF44, and Chaos Star. Scourge and Mephiles was the other name. Oh, yeah. But also random 8127, who was I showed you just before. He was Ratchet 5's real life friend. They met at like church or something. They were friends for years and years and years. He was like sort of another community adjacent kind of guy. But yeah, like we were just what was that video? Because was it on the SS Speedruns channel, Al? The one with like the grand final situation.
Yeah, so it was during the grand final that Ratchet explained the whatever, and also the screenshot I sent in the chat earlier was like,
is this it?
It's like this. Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I don't know what this means. First of all, like that's just. It's like multiple. Okay.
Well, Luke was there at the time.
The timing of the run was terrible. Yeah, Luke was there. It was like 8 a.m. in the UK, and you can hear him saying, "Oh, I'm just starting to wake up now because it was so early." And for the Americans, it was like it was anywhere from midnight to 2 or 3 a.m. So that was that. Andreas, Chaos Star, Scourge, and Mephiles couldn't take part. Right, thank you. He couldn't take part because he was going to school and he didn't know that this was happening. So that's another thing.
Actually, now think about it.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, now think about it. Why was it at that time that early? I don't even remember that it was that early when we did the final.
Well,
to make it convenient for Andrew.
Well, look at that.
I don't know how the hell I made it to that. Jesus Christ.
See, normally these days when we do grand finals, you would do a grand final at like maybe 7 a.m. Australian time, which would be like good for because normally you have to sacrifice at least one of the time zones because like we're all Australia, UK, and US are all spaced out pretty evenly, right? Australia being the furthest away from the US. So normally you'd have to like say, okay, well one of you time zones gets fucked and the other two are kind of decent, right? Like right now when we're recording this is 11 o'clock at night for me and Andrew, and then it's like, just after noon for the other guys. But yeah, like what the hell? This tournament was the grand final was at 5 p.m. on a weekday.
On a weekday, by the way, which is why fucking Andreas couldn't take part. Obviously.
Yeah, it was. I think it was the 20th of August 2000 and 20th of August I think it happened, and it wasn't uploaded for like 2 more weeks. But can you imagine that a tournament with the grand final wasn't uploaded for 2 weeks after the tournament happened? But
that goes back to the massive video files and shitty broadband and
that too.
And this final was 8 parts, by the way. Imagine sitting through eight parts of it. But the other thing,
can I really quickly just want to point something, just jumping back just a touch for a bit of information about the Spyro Speedruns channel.
Of course.
They actually on the 28th of April 2010, so before this Crash tournament, the Spyro Speedruns point system was cancelled. So there actually was a point system. I know it's taken back way back to the start, but there was a point system on that channel that predated, IES, and then by the time after IAS1, but before IAS2, that system was cancelled. So I just thought that's really interesting there. That were kind of following this. I would love to know what the official leaderboard ended up being like by the time it was over.
I bet it was all in annotations and no one could actually see any of it. But the other thing that I remember about, before we go on to like the grand final and all the things that happened there, the other thing about this tournament was, speaking of leaderboards, Dessert Monkey would make like annotated leaderboards for this tournament every week and update them on a Sunday or something. Now, apparently, from what I can piece together and from memory, our good friend Max Gruber, Mama Club 2, was somehow involved with like calculating and giving these leader point scores to Dessert Monkey to edit or something, and Crash Bandy Spyro 12 had just won a race. Crash Bandy Spyro 12 had just won a race, and he was very keen to get his points put onto that week's leaderboard, but Max explained to him that the points wouldn't be put on until the following week because he didn't get them in the eligible period. At which point, apparently, Bandy must have offended or upset Max, which doesn't surprise me. So Max then hijacked the channel, if you can believe that. He took the password, and I know we've seen a few of these videos, but I think we need to go back and listen to the Max Gruber video. It's very short. Max was very considerate on us. He made these videos very short, but which was nice of him. But please, one second, let me find it. Okay, it's called Max Gruber Pissed is the name of the video, and it says "Screw this." I believe this is it. So let's all now have a listen to Max Gruber Pissed. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's Max, or Mama Club 2, and I'm really pissed. I mean, the leaderboard was going to be released every Sunday so I can help Ratchet 5 so I didn't have to make it or anything. It was kind of fun and all. And just because Crash Bandicoot wanted the 9 points, even though I could wait until next Sunday, that was just up to that date. You didn't have to be such a dick and, do that. And I have some people, that I can trust now. I just don't trust any of you guys anymore. You guys are just dicks. And I don't give a fuck if this gets banned, this whole account. I don't really want it to, though, because I know there's some good people that actually are in the tournament and all, and I'm not even going to say their names, because then you'll attack them and whatnot, but I'm just really pissed. Nobody's probably even going to watch this.
Nobody's probably going to watch this.
Yeah, but I changed the password because CBS is being such a freaking dick. I mean, he could have just waited till next Sunday, and he couldn't have gotten into round... round 2 by then probably, and probably still have shown up, even more points and gotten him even more credit, but now I just changed the password so you all won't, get into it, and it's really long and cryptic, you'll never get it. Either way, good luck finding another channel, because, you'll never guess what else has happened, and you'll just have to find that out for yourself. Good day, and I hope to see you guys in hell.
Good day, guys. I hope to see you in hell. Why? Well, first of all, what necessitates such anger and vitriol to want to see us in hell? And second of all, can anyone remember what it was he was talking about? Because I believe that this tournament, the SS Speedruns tournament, was hacked twice. Whenever we say hacked, by the way, it means someone gave someone the password. We just kept saying hacked. And that was a common thing that happened. But yeah, so Max decided to lock the channel. It can't have been for too long though, because like I'm pretty sure, like I watched the video that Ratchet did for like, you know, the tournament wrap up, and he did not mention the fact that the tournament was hacked at all. So it must have been like a real blip.
It was a blip in the map. I remember this happening because, like you, Angus, I was watching at the time and I was like, "Oh fuck! Like, what the fuck is this shit?" Like, I think I was potentially going back and forth, maybe in YouTube messages with some people asking because I wasn't. I don't know if I was on Skype, but just not like. I don't think I was at all. I don't know, but like I remember being active in the situation or commenting on the video or something, and just being like, "What?" But I think what precipitated it was just maybe Max and Bandy just had tension, and I think that this was just like the straw that broke the camel's back, with Bandy demanding that his points be.
They always had. There was always infighting with those guys. Actually,
exactly. It was a daily thing during that time.
Yeah, daily, literally daily.
Oh, we will talk about it in the next part. It's Americans versus you all, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, I cannot wait.
Oh god, we move on from Max. See, I view Max. Max is like, you know, he's still around to this day. We talk to him. Max, you know, fantastic guy. I mean, to some.
Just before the video, Andrew CrystalFissure had a brilliant impression.
Oh, he did.
Of Max.
He did. Please. Let me put the video on you. Do it.
Okay guys, it's Bandicoot 2 and today we're doing a new video and we're playing Crash 2 and we're playing the first level. It's like Weed Beach. The perfect fit.
Anyway.
Were you also Dazzy's Serbian friend or whatever it was?
That was me. I was Gag73.
Gag73.
It was me. I admit it. Finally, after 10 years, it was me. I finally get that off my chest.
Yeah, everyone knew immediately, by the way, and I remember like immediately saying, "Angus, this is you," and pitch shifting the video.
This is completely unrelated. I'll be 5 seconds. The funniest memory I have of Gag73 is Zin not knowing it was you, and it was Zin versus Liam Bally, which is Mr. Fraser Films 2009's British friend on a tournament called RIP. I think it was RIP 1. I think it was completely unrelated. But
here's another all-time Max. Don't worry, this only goes for 1 minute 5 seconds. This is all-time Kino Max Gruber. You ready for this?
My mom was proud of me for having a channel because she doesn't like my commentaries. She doesn't think that's really that good, but she's really amazed by the speedruns I edit. And she was proud of those, and the fact that I organized everything. And now my mom is depressed, and she thinks Danny's a freak for harassing my family. She doesn't know that he hacked it yet.
She doesn't know he hacked it.
And then she doesn't trust anyone on YouTube anymore, so my whole thing about my mom is gone. Pressing my mom. And now she just doesn't even care anymore.
Oh dear.
And now I was going to be a game designer, but now she wants to force my life. So she's now making me a doctor or something like that, like a lawyer or something with high paying wages. She wants. I used to be controlled by life, and now I'm not. Basically. That's another reason I might just leave YouTube.
Oh, that's fantastic.
There's that classic slow zoom in. I love the that must have been Bandy that did the edit, because the Photoshop, because the Photoshop is shit.
Yes.
But like, I also love that, like, for some reason it was photoshopped onto just a regular stock picture of a man, like, as if that, why was that even why?
I know, like why does it add anything to Photoshop that?
Just use a normal image. You don't need to Photoshop his head into like just a normal
some guy.
But so that was Max, and I guess like he was he had his moments of like, you know, throwing sort of hissy fits and everything like that, but he was another really solid guy at the time. You know, he was in that core group, Max. You know, there wasn't a lot of American representation in like the core community group, but he was definitely one.
Not really, no. Max, I want to shout him out. He was the first ever person who messaged me about speedrunning.
Really?
I don't know. It was very shortly after I created my channel. It was early 2010. He messaged me like, "Oh, do you want to take part in a speedrun?" And I remember reading that, and I was like, "Oh." They've chosen me. Like, I thought this was like a big fucking deal. And I was like, oh, but I have to tell them no. And I was genuinely really nervous about saying no. Like, this was like a big fucking deal that I'd been like asked to do this, and I couldn't because I didn't have like a microphone. I had no setup to join Skype or whatever, so I had to decline. And he's like, okay, no worries. And I was like, okay. But I remember it was like I was really nervous about the fact that I had to decline it. But he was the first person to message me, and he was actually the first person who made me aware of what a speedrun was. Like, I didn't know what that was, so it was his message to me that did that. So yeah. Angus, before you do go on about the grand final, I do just want to shout out something, and this is the only chance I'll get because I'm already talking. Luke versus True Halo Master CTR race, fucking classic race. I'm sure Luke remembers this one. Brilliant race. I remember watching it at the time, and it was a True Halo Master, or was it John that you faced Luke? I think it was True Halo Master.
Yep.
True Halo Master.
Yes, Angus.
Yes,
That's
I'm
shit
good.
right
I'm
there.
quick with the videos. Actually, there was a part. Let me see if I can find it, because I think it was. Yeah, look at this. Look at this. This was the race.
Literally.
Yeah,
and you literally say in the comments, 4 years later, easily one of the best speedruns in IAS history. Morgan Avery then replies 4 years ago, definitely.
Oh no, this one was a classic. Hopefully, you know, maybe we'll see something like this in the Super Crash League. But yeah, Luke, talk us through like some of your memories of the Crash tournament.
Well, for this race in particular, I was such a jammy bugger winning because he actually lost the race in Oxide Station, because I think he kept failing shortcuts or something. So like he was behind the other characters, and he came second in the end. And that's how I was able to overtake him, win the race, because he was better than me at CTR at the time, easily. So it was definitely one of my luckiest wins I've ever had. Probably still to this day, I could argue. Regarding the rest of the races, who did I face? I think I remember facing Crash Pro in the group stages, and I think he had a massive error in one of the tracks, which actually was CTR. Actually, yeah. He had an error in one of the tracks, and I think he gave up. And because he lost the race, he didn't send me his footage, sadly. And I think that was the same case for actually the first tournament too.
That sounds about right. People refused to send their footage when they didn't want when they lost.
Yeah.
Yep. It was like I lost. So I plead guilty of doing that in the Meckel Monsieur tournament.
I remember I also faced Cool Pro as well.
Cool Pro
in the second round.
Was he in that tournament? He was in IAS2.
Yeah, yeah. We basically we had two races. The first race we had to stop because I went out of bounds and I couldn't get back in the hub area.
There he is.
So we restarted the race. Yeah, this one. Yeah.
You clearly
this
had
was the actual race
fun at that time, by the way, Luke.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Brilliant.
And yeah, there's nothing much more I can remember, really. I mean, I think there was some little drama going on in between the races I did, but in terms of the races itself, I mean, there's nothing much else to say. They're all just
look at how well these videos are simply edited. They're very simple. You know, there's people that struggle sometimes, even with even now. So it's like, yeah, great job with that.
Yeah, I mean, IAS2, my favorite edited race, by the way. And there's something we could run this back to this day. I remember. Let me see if I can find it. Another Christian edit, because he was always like I considered Christian at that time to be like the god of like the edits.
Yeah, he was definitely the best one.
He wasn't good at the speedrunning, but he got the edits right, so that was the main thing. So.
I was depicted of a lawyer of a murderer. That was one of my characters that I played.
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no. Sorry, I thought you were referring to the person who bore your name who killed his brother. But continue.
Oh no, you can't
look at
brother.
This. Look at that. Nice. Gradient. We got a gradient here. Look at that. Wow. Look at that. That's slick.
That's good.
Very nice.
He's even got got drop shadow and like a stroke.
Oh God, James. That's a retro name, James.
James 2667.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, you can even see he's got this
Yep.
little fraps icon down the bottom of the screen. Now look at this,
I do
right?
just want to
The
briefly
quality of
mention
that-
James 2667 was an integral enough member of the early community.
You see-
Yes. Yeah.
He was integral, yeah. I mean, what's the big James 2667 story? Anyone
He's
got
probably dub built now, so that's cool.
He's dub built.
Yeah, he's a New Japan fan, so respect
Yep,
that. After
that's right.
His Facebook. Please come back, James. Please respond to my message. I
He's
never.
he's a very, very nice guy. I just want to say, I always remember he's just and he's obviously a bit younger than me, so I was going to say he's a very nice kid, because I always remember just being like a kid, but like he was a lovely chap, and I have not a singular bad word to say about him. He's
So
very
apparently, okay, look at this, right? So we'll just talk about the grand final, we'll wrap things up, and then we'll move on to the good shit, because the good shit's coming. This has been great so far, but I mean this is barely scratched the surface. So this is the grand final. It says LukeRF44 versus Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12 versus Randomate127. Okay, so you would assume that these three people would be first, second, and third, and obviously Bandy's about to win.
Wait.
Right?
Wait, Angus, before you go on, I just want to point out I've watched a different version to you, where the footage at the bottom is marked as Stan's footage.
Interesting. Okay, so this is the official. This is the version on the channel. Okay, but controversially, and this comes from a alternate wiki, not our own wiki, but another wiki that happens to have this information on it. It says, and I quote, Chaos Star failed to show up to the grand final, so the four competitors were made up of the semi-final winners, Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12, LukeRF44, as well as the semi-finalists who failed to complete their races, Randomate127 and Stan Scooby 545. Neither Randomate or Stan Scooby completed the objectives, with the latter not even having any video footage because his emulator crashed and the video corrupted. Then, listen to this, hot take. For 10 years, Randomate127 was arbitrarily given third place despite never qualifying for the grand final or completing the goal. But this was changed in 2020, where Chaos Star was designated third place simply on the fact that they qualified, and both Randomate127 and Crash Stan Scooby 545 were disqualified. Well, you can't do that. You can't retroactively 10 years later change the outcome of a tournament.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, absolutely not. You cannot do that.
You can't do it.
You're gonna, that's gonna be interesting in the next part. But yes, you can. By the way,
Apparently,
I'm just
yes,
saying
because that was
it's bullshit.
So Randomate127 never finished third, and yeah, that's it. That's all there is to say about that. CrystalFissure says, by the way, hot CrystalFissure message. He says, "Holy crap, Randomate127 was in the final. Wow." And then wait, hold on a sec. What the fuck is going on here? You guys have to see this to believe this.
Fanboy.
Look at this.
Go
Look at this comment right here. And look at that.
Huh.
From a year ago, my brother says the description on this video is something special.
1 year ago, what a stalker.
What was the description?
Yeah.
That was the description.
Wow, that is special.
It's a long description.
I'm going to reply
Please
to it right
read
now.
out random 1827's.
Yes, it says, came
Like,
last in Group F, was accepted into Round 2 when Juhis and Sagas both quit, won against Till Game Master in Round 2, who was second in Group G, was up against Stan Scooby in Round 3, who was away for a while and didn't do a speedrun, was accepted into the grand final. Wait, what? I don't know.
It's
absolutely
no
it's
sense.
just to dox him further. Yeah, the Sagas 997, who then became, when he grew up a little bit, the Epic Gamer 2010.
Yes, that's right.
So Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12 won this tournament. So that was September 2010. Now, from my recollection, the next big event was the Ratchet 5 13-hour stream. I think that's what we'll talk about now.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
I remember this.
The Big Bang.
Let's talk. This is what the Big Bang. Al, why don't you take it away? Because this was you were in the call for it.
Yep. Yes, I was. It was my
us all about
first
the
ever
Ratchet 5
Skype call.
13-hour stream while I try to find the announcement video for it, and we'll give that a
Yeah, I'll need some of you to help me out, but Ratchet 5's 13-hour stream, he announced it on his channel, I believe, and I was subscribed to him at the time, and for some reason I'd had it in my head that he didn't like me. I don't know why, because I think I commented on one of his videos and he gave me like a response which I thought was kind of dickish, but so I thought he didn't like me, but I was like, oh, well, if I'm in his stream and I'm chatting, then maybe he'll like me, and maybe I'll actually make friends or something. So I remember being in the chat for like quite a bit of it. Angus was there, I remember. I think Fissure was there as well. John, Luke, Christian, Brandon Exploit was there, and then probably some others that
Rabbit
I'm
Wombat JR
missing. But was he? Oh, Jesus. Yeah, well, Rabbit Wombat JR was there, Rumble Shema. And yeah, it's 13 hours. He did, I think he did Toy Story, he did Spyro, he probably did Muppet Race Mania. Did he do Ratchet and Clank? Or
No, he didn't,
I don't know.
he didn't do
No,
any
maybe he didn't do that.
non-emulator games. Well,
Right,
let's have
okay.
a look at this because I won't bother. I don't think there's any. Is there any audio?
Say Crash Bandicoot Japanese last. Anyway,
There is
here's
audio.
how it's going to work.
There we go. Look at that. That's the schedule. He did a Muppet Monster Adventure thing.
That's what I was in.
You were that, yes, and then he did Muppet Race Mania, and then he did Spyro the Dragon, and what else did he do? Crash Bandicoot 2, Monsters Inc. Scare Island, Spyro 2 Japanese, Crash Bandicoot Japanese, and yeah, it went for 13 hours. And yeah, so Christian was there, I believe. Do you remember much from this?
I don't know.
You don't remember? So,
Well, he was there.
You were there. You were definitely there. Now, I was a big fan of his at this time. Like, I was watching his. He was doing his. I think Christian or one of you guys mentioned he was doing his Crash Bandicoot Japanese Let's Play at this time.
Yep,
And
that's right.
I was hooked on this Let's Play. Like, I was like a big fan of this Let's Play. Especially, I think he did like something along the lines of like, because he was doing it like hardcore. He was doing like 100%, like all boxes, whatever. And he got to Sunset Vista. And he had, I reckon, like 10 parts of him just getting through Sunset Vista. So for 10 days in a row, he would upload himself trying and failing on Sunset Vista. And I cannot tell you, for my 16-year-old self, the amount of excitement. I was like, is this the day he finally beat Sunset Vista? Is this the day he beat Sunset Vista? And he did eventually beat Sunset Vista. And Al Molloy made a very funny sentence mix of Sunset Vista. But yeah, like I was a big fan of his at the time, and I had been exposed to the wider community. Like I'd been aware of you guys, like Luke and Christian and even CrystalFissure a little bit, and Crash Bandicoot Spyro 12. But like I'd never spoken to any of you guys. And then I remember the stream announcement. I was like, okay, cool, I'll go watch the stream. And I watched the stream, and CrystalFissure was commentating, and Ratchet5 was there, and of course. And then after the stream, the very next day, I was like, oh, I might try adding these people on Skype. So I tried to add Ratchet5 on Skype. I thought his Skype handle was just Ratchet5, but it was like Krasnex or something.
Yeah.
But I added CrystalFissure on there because he was actually CrystalFissure. And then I think the first thing I ever said to you was like, oh, fantastic commentary on the thing, and you're like, oh, really? Thank. Like you were like actually like, I don't know, you were surprised or something. And then yeah, we just started talking, and then Ratchet was there, and then he invited me to the third I'm A Speedrunner tournament, which was I'm A Speedrunner 3, which was the Spyro tournament. And yeah, that's kind of how and then I sort of never left. And I think one of the very first calls I ever had was with Al and Ratchet, and we were talking about our Irish heritage for like an hour or so, and it was just great. It was like the first time I'd ever really like had a chance to like, talk to people from like other countries and like people with like actually the similar interests to me, and I kind of I guess found like an immediate like sort of like safe space within the IAS community. And then I joined the tournament, and that was a really weird time for me too, because I mentioned this as well. But my stepmom was pregnant with my little sister at the time, and like I think at that point I was just about to finish high school. I was going into like the last year of high school, so it was just like a really sort of transformative period. And you know what they say, I'm a Speedrunner came around just when I needed it the most, and it was fantastic.
There you go.
Yes, but yeah, like that was the 24-hour live stream. But we'll talk about I'm A Speedrunner 3 in a second, but did you guys have any further comments to add?
Oh, you know me. I love talking about this 13-hour stream. I just want to say the end of it then was Ratchet playing the Crash 1 Japanese. I don't think he got all the way through it. I seem to think he aborted it like quite early on. But I remember being there, and my first ever call, it was Ratchet, Luke, John, and myself. And I remember I was watching Match of the Day, and I think I said to Luke, I was like, "Oh, are you watching Match of the Day?" He was as well, and we were talking about that. And yeah, it was a big fucking deal for me. I was terrified, but also so excited at the same time. I remember.
Well, streams were so new at that time. Like it was just a novelty to be able to interact with people that you were watching. And like
Yes,
I think
yes.
we were talking about Crash Pro 3 stream before, and I wish these streams were archived. Like I really wish they were.
I'd do anything to have my first like appearance with Ratchet. That was like the second call I ever had. But I mean, to this day, I mean, a lot of it's like nostalgia, but to this day, it's a top 5 like internet moment of mine. You know, just being like involved because like he was the popular channel before I, you know, unceremoniously usurped his position, which is, you know, took a long time. You know, he was the king. You know, he really was the king of content. You know.
Well, we forgot the real linchpin of it all, which was Dazzy.
Yes, we never mentioned Dazzy.
That's insane. Yeah.
How have we gone this long without mentioning Dazzy? That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the perfect. I'm gonna go get a drink while you guys talk about Dazzy.
All right, well let's talk about.
I'm as well, yeah. So, but I do want to talk about Dazzy. So,
yeah.
I guess Al, you'll have to put you on screen because everyone else is gone. Let's talk about Dazzy.
That's absolutely fine.
What do you know about Dazzy?
I just want to ask though, Luke, do you have any memories of that stream that we just talked about? Like, 'cause obviously this is your first call with me, and other people but maybe not. Well, first with me, not others, but yeah, just any memories that you might have of that stream, particularly.
To be honest, I don't remember anything from that stream.
Wow.
Nothing.
Well, that's because you were drinking during the stream, and for fun fact, and I remember you said, "I have a headache," and John said, "You have a headache? What's a headache?" I just remember that being a thing that John trying to win you over.
Yes, he was. It was. I don't remember that either. I mean, wasn't even drinking. Like I would have almost still been 17 at that point.
Strongbow, definitely Strongbow.
Yeah, it was. You were drinking something anyway, because there was some kind of
surely it can't have been beer. It might have been. In which case, oh dear, it was definitely not Strongbow. It definitely can't be that because obviously at the time I would have been new to it, and I would have still hated alcohol.
Right, fair.
Contrast obviously to now, where I was out last night getting pissed out my head.
Yeah, there you go.
That makes two of us.
Yeah,
but the other, my clear as day memory from the Ratchet 5 13-hour stream was that the opening of it, the opening triumvirate, is that the word? What's the word, Al?
The opening ceremony. I don't know.
The 3 people in the first bit was Ratchet 5, Rabid Wombat JR, and CrystalFissure, right? So I'm listening to, and they were playing Muppet Monster Adventure, like a game I had grown up with. So you can imagine for me, like hearing 3 people similar ages to me playing a game I grew up in. I was like
all Australian, of course. Don't forget.
Yeah, all Australian. Like I was transfixed on this kind of thing, you know. I was transfixed, and it was quite crazy at the time, like to be able to like experience something like that. I know we're kind of like, the wonders of the internet and whatever, but anyway,
it was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
Like you're absolutely right.
So Red Devil Dazzy, I have just a quick little intro to him here.
The time.
Well, you've got to play the.
This video.
For us,
He'll get there, don't worry. But this is important. This is important because this is his face reveal. This is the time has come, and it has like thousands of views. This was a big fucking deal because he was the guy, and then everyone saw that he was like this interesting person.
This gentleman known as Red Devil Dazzy 2007, also known as General Dazzy 86. Go on, you do the big intro.
I came across, I came across the community from Ratchet 5, but most people, there was a common thread I didn't know about. A sort of common YouTube channel was Red Devil Dancing because he was one of the very few, if not the only, at the time, YouTube channel that did Spyro videos with actual game capture, like direct game capture, not like a webcam to a TV or anything like that. So he was really popular for that, and like everybody in the community had like some nostalgia hit at some point. Searched Spyro on YouTube and found Dazzy. So he became kind of a community, like everything centered around Dazzy, and like I was one of the few people that didn't know of him beforehand, and when I was told about him, that's where the Pimp Dazzy came from.
Yes, yes.
One of
I-
the very first community memes was the
Yes,
Pimp Dazzy.
and I'm with Christian on this too. I want to say I was a Spyro Jam 86 fan. Spyro Jam 86 was my gateway to the community. So, and then I found Dazzy by proxy of that, and I, unlike the others who they unironically thought he was cool, I always thought this guy's a bit odd. I was like, this is he's a bit weird, isn't he?
Speaking of Spyro Jam 86, I'm wearing one of his t-shirts.
I was a Spyro Jammer.
Spyro Jam, look at that.
Me too.
Spyro Jam 86. I
Yeah,
mean,
very important as
I
well.
will never forget when I first had a chance to talk to Spyro Jam. He will come up. We'll talk about Spyro Jam and the skate tournament in part 2. But yeah, Spyro Jam, great guy. Dazzy, yeah. Look, we've had a few calls with this guy over the last few years. Yeah, I mean, maybe 10 years ago was the last time we spoke to him. But yeah, he was like, I think at the time it was like someone older than us. Like he was like, you know, he's 86, right? So the oldest person in the community was like Dessert Monkey, who was like 1991, you know? So like we're all like born in the 90s. He's like, oh, the 80s, right? And I remember Rabid Wombat JR would joke that, oh, there'll never be a time where Dazzy and I are in the same decade or whatever, because they were like 11 years apart. Yeah. But yeah, I think he drew a bit of our ire because he was, I guess, for lack of a better word, like term, like not like a maladjusted or something like that. Like he wasn't. When you learned more about him, you're like, okay, he still lives at home. Okay, he's like, you know, he's got these kind of like health
The other
problems.
important thing is that, you know, he never joined up to these. He was friends with Ratchet, sort of did a decent amount, kind of involved himself in the channel beforehand, like 2008, 2009, I think. But yeah, was never involved. So like he really is this. He is. His significance is diminished when the more you think about it, especially as each tournament went on. And then it culminated with, I'm pretty sure, all of us being blocked by him again for reasons kind of unknown. Yeah.
But he really was kind of like, even without being part of any of the kind of the what connected everyone together, because it sort of was a start of like a connected language. Fucking Cheese Slice Dazzy.
Yes, Cheese Slice. let me see if I can find Cheese Slice Dazzy, because we need to watch that. Cheese Slice Dazzy. Cheese Slice Dazzy.
He was always more known for his memes by the end of it. Yeah, like known for those
he
memes
was
more than his.
I remember you would go on the.
Who could forget when he vomited on Skype?
Oh yes.
Dazzy.
Oh god.
Here we go. This
Blew chunks all over his keyboard. It was.
Apologies.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Weirdness. Here we go. Listen to this.
In focus. What's there actually a reason why he made this video? Does anyone actually know?
It was part of his random series, but
yeah.
Yeah,
it was completely random. There was no reason whatsoever, and I just want to underline to the people at home, I would not be here if it weren't for that video. That is why I'm here. Like, if he didn't make that, a chain of events would not have occurred to where I'm here today. So, sorry, Andrew, you were saying.
That's about as stupid as doing a video where you just jump into your pool. Like, that's the kind of sort of dumb shit.
But,
who would do that?
It's what connected everyone together, because not everyone participated in the tournaments, but everyone participated. A-locking.
Yes.
A-locking.
And he was really out.
And he's a nice guy. Presumably, I don't know. He's just some guy who made videos on the internet that we watched and enjoyed, and then made some vlogs, which were unfortunate. And
he was our Chris Chan, basically.
For about 10 years.
Yes.
And we made a wiki. Chris Chan.
There was the wiki, the Dazzy wiki, which...
We had the Dazzy wiki.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why? Why? I do not know. There was not nearly enough about the guy that you could sustain that, because he was, unlike Chris Chan, the more infamous he became, the less he posted. So I guess he had that over Chris Chan. But, yeah, Dazzy, great guy.
Well, with the Dazzy Wiki, he was still making content during the Dazzy Wiki.
Yes, he was.
Because I remember there was, like, it was me, I think it was you, Al, and a few others. I think maybe you, Andrew. We competed, because on the Quickie, there were these transcripts of the video. On every there's an article on every video that Chris Chan ever made, and a transcript. And with the Dazzy Wiki, we just for the newer videos, there'll be a transcript. And when Dazzy dropped a brand new Dazzy, we would all compete to be the first person to write that fucking transcript.
Holy shit!
And it was the most cringe, ridiculous A-logging, but it was so
total
fun.
A-logging.
It was.
And
it was. I mean, like,
and there'll always be these. Sorry, there was always these like editorial flourishes that we'd put into the video. Like he would say, Rosie, and then like it would transcript it. It would be like closed captioning. It would have like our own editorial flourishes on the closed captioning. Like God, I don't know, like Dazzy menacingly.
yes, like yes, I particularly did that. I love doing that. Yeah, the Dazzy squeals gleefully or something, you know, shit like that. Yeah, it was because that was what it was like on the quickie on the Chris Chan wiki. So I did the same thing. I was like, I get to do this now. Yeah.
Oh, I have a video that that Christian made. He just linked it to me. Let us watch this beautiful masterpiece for a second.
What made him this way? What is the attraction? What
the
keeps
hell
us
is this?
fascinated? This is the story of
This is the story of Dazzy.
But yeah, no, he was never involved in the speedruns, so we'll stop talking about him right now. No.
Just last thing, okay? You've got to show. We alluded to it earlier. You can't just leave it on where Dazzy vomited over his keyboard.
Yes, I was just looking. I was just looking for that. Let me.
We can't throw that out, and you've got to pick up what I'm putting down.
Oh yeah. Let me find it. What was it? It was called
Dazzy vomits on Skype, or
no,
I was trying
THQ whatever.
THX or
sound editing to make them blush or whatever, isn't it? It's on CRAS.
Yes, I'm on CRAS right now. Where?
Yeah, it's
no. I called it. I remember I called it Dazzy vomits on Skype, or how Peach died.
Here it is. Everyone listen to this.
I was trying to phrase it like a Kurt Vonnegut novel for some reason, and I thought it'd be really offensive. I was like, how could I? This is terrible. I was like, how could I make it like all like more offensive? Like, I'll just put how Peach died at the end of it. That's pretty bad.
It was funny. It was still funny.
It was pretty funny.
Right, here we go. Let's listen to this. Excellent edits. Ready? No, this wasn't an edit. This is real. This actually happened. That's
this actually happened.
Oh my god.
So we got Dazzy on Skype, and this happened. Ready? Hi.
What's that saying?
That has laughter from us and in the video. But yes.
Yeah.
Gemini Dazzy. We could not. We wouldn't have the history of I'm A Speedrunner without you, Gemini Dazzy. So yes, I'm A Speedrunner 3.
Sorry, I'm gonna keep doing this. Sorry,
no, Christian, we're moving on. No,
it's not. It's not Dazzy. It's but
go. All right.
That CRAS channel, Crass, right? It's just because if you don't know, you don't know. But there's been a long-standing meme about the Crass gone on for probably a year into the whole speedrunner.
Yeah, I reckon like 2010 or
it was. Yeah, it was I think our first ever contribution as a sort of meme. His first meme contribution, which wasn't intentional, where you said you were going like, you were talking about someone, go blah 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 blah. They were they acted pretty crass, which means
was that Sagan's? We were talking about Sagan's being crass.
Yeah, and it spawned like just us. Yeah. Obnoxiously calling everything crass because of that.
And then of course
which then ended with
led to the
Crass Cast and
Crass
Community
Community,
Classic.
Community Classic,
Crass
and
Community.
even today, even to this day, we still have the Classic
Yeah.
Speedrunning Championship, which is like a
Yeah.
homage to that,
Yeah.
and the Classic Trios
right.
title. So
It's probably my
Fair
biggest
enough.
contribution ever. Like when I think about it, like just that thing. And I have to credit Christian. It was me, Christian, and John, and probably Luke was there too. We were just talking, and I was obviously ranting about someone being an idiot or whatever, and I said, "Oh, it's crass, it's crass," and then or no. Actually, I gotta give you credit, Christian. You said it was crass. I went crass. It's like. Oh, crass is like crash. It's like, oh, the Crass Community. I said that. I remember this specifically. You said the word. I'll give you credit. You were the one who said the word. I took it and ran with it. I said, oh, that's perfect. We're the Crass Community. That's what we are, because it's like crash. And that was it. So,
I remember like I missed out on the whole thing, and I remember coming back one day, and everyone's like, "We're the Crass Community." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. But I fucking made it. I was like, oh, we're the Crass Community. I was like, I was like, made sure that this is like a thing that just stood time, and it has. So which is pretty cool. But yeah. So you want to go to IAS3?
Speaking of standing the test of time, we come to I'm A Speedrunner 3, which for some reason I don't quite know why. Even 10 years later, we look at as like the best of the whole I'm A Speedrunner series. Would I be correct in that assumption?
Well,
No,
I mean, looking at the Wikipedia, the wiki, it was the start of parody songs and constant drama, and it just being kind of an event that people look for. It was at that point kind of decided there'll be 2 a year, and it was sort of like something that people look forward to. It was when it came.
Yeah, it was
not just like a one-off thing, but like a.
It was Christmas, right? It was Christmas 2010. It was like a big sort of like everyone was like off school, everyone was free, everyone was like, you know, let's do this. And like I mean, the tournament had about like 48 people in it or something like, which was basically like almost double what the previous tournament had. It was incredible. And it was my first tournament. It was Al's first tournament. I believe Fraser actually did his runs in it. Rabid Wombat JR, who we'll probably talk about more in part 2. Was in it, and Teal Game Master Spyro Jam made his debut as well.
Jeff Ridge,
your brother Ridge.
Yep, my brother Jeff.
It was
exactly.
The start of Skype group calls that were too fucking big.
To
have any kind of conversation, and a lot of there were so many firsts. This was where it's difficult to talk about I'm A Speedrunner 1 because they're kind of they're notable because they're the first ones, but IAS3 was the first real kind of when it actually took shape, when there were major people in the community that are here to this day.
That's right, and it was also more of like an actual event, as we say. Like every subsequent tournament took more from this one. It was the first tournament to have the competitive videos with like the random odds, which became a meme. It was the first tournament to have parody songs. Like John uploaded a parody song, and that was groundbreaking at the time. It was like the first tournament that actually didn't have like 1 million people dropping out, and actually like a smooth progression. And it had the drama factor, which we mentioned before, which is very key to, I think, what we would maybe at least like in terms of like what we would consider memorable tournaments, because this had a lot of drama. We'll get to your drama in a second, Al, but this tournament notably featured our good friend Teal Game Master in an interesting encounter with a man named the Machine King. Who would like to take the reins and talk about Machine King in IAS3?
I can talk. I can talk
his hand
about
up
this
first.
actually.
There
you go.
Yep.
Oh, Al?
Yeah, actually, do you know what? I'm going to be talking a lot about the drama, so maybe Fisher should take this. Yeah, but you go ahead.
I don't have a whole lot to say. I just would love to point out though that it's, long story short, Machine King re-recorded his footage in a race. So this was like the first instance of active cheating. Apparently, I remember years later hearing that it actually, like in his own words, it wasn't so he could win, which is hilarious because he actually didn't win. Isn't that correct?
That's right. Yeah,
that's correct. He lost.
He recorded his footage because he lost it. At the time, though, we viewed this as an absolutely egregious crime.
Yeah.
Hill Game Master pointed out that he's a cutting, cheating bastard or whatever.
Yes, in this video.
I just love to point out. Wait, let it play. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm playing it without the audio. So
Oh, okay. Well, I love to point out that it is a race between the most subscribed person to ever be in like an IAS or ISGP tournament and the second most subscribed to be in an IAS or ISGP.
Yes.
Right now, the Machine King, aka MediExcalibur 2012, has over 100,000 subscribers, and Teal Game Master has over 90,000, I believe it is. So incredible. How popular those guys are.
Yeah.
A lot was
And
made of Machine
remember-
King cheating at the time, but I think it was kind of blown way out of proportion. If I'm being
Oh yeah, like
yeah,
I remember I was permabanned, which was not their opinion as well. I was like, he has ruined the sanctity of the tournament. He has to be permabanned. We cannot ever trust him ever. I don't care how many times he apologises. I don't care how many he has to be permabanned. We must never, ever, ever let him in an I'm a speedrunner. And it was just, and people are like, yeah, you're right. I'm not a doctor. That is a completely reasonable position to
I
take.
was one of those people who agreed.
Yeah, he was something else. No, but I like Machine King now. I've subsequently met Machine King in real life. He's actually a really nice guy, and I feel honestly.
And I genuinely believe his excuse. By the way, like now I fully believe that he just fucked up his footage and he was trying to recreate it. And then fucking Teal just took that to mean he was cheating.
And then
I believe him.
happened though. If you remember, Rabid, he also his video was weird against Rabid as well. So it was like two kind of things happened, and we were like, well, he's cheating, right? But
that's right. At the time, it definitely made sense.
It did. Yeah.
It did. So the other thing from round one that we might want to remember is a race between Flaming Flores, I believe. Flaming Flares. And a guy called Oron Super 95. I'll see if I can find. Here it is. So this video was very notable because
people
it
in
had
group.
another meme, the I can't get into Toasty meme, which I'll see if I can find. So Oron Super 95, he rescues a dragon, and then Toasty doesn't open, and he doesn't know what to do, and he's like, I can't get into Toasty. And Oron Super 95, of course, is Italian, native Italian speaker, and his accent was humorous to, funnily enough, Bandy, mostly, who's also has incredibly broken English, so I don't get it. But it was like, anytime that you had to be careful, because anytime you made some kind of unintentional humorous remark, like, I can't get into Toasty, people would take that and just run with it forever, and you could never escape it for years. Years and years and years. So that was the kind of thing. So that was like, round one of that tournament was very memorable. I remember being quite excited for it, and I think I raced Meckel Museur came into that tournament. A gentleman who would go on to try his hand at running his own tournament, which we'll talk about in part 2. We'll got a lot more to say. He was relatively a minor character in I'm A Speedrunner 3, Meckel Museur. And then also, I believe Malky was in that tournament.
Malky.
Malachi.
Now, CrystalFissure, this was your first tournament that you were
Malky.
An active competitor in 2, and you lost to Random8127 in a race.
Oh, your shame.
The shame he has never lived down.
Yeah. I also had myself versus Random 8127 or whatever his name was, the Ratchet's friend, and he beat me. I missed I believe his.
The famous, you missed your plane.
See, look, right there.
Yeah.
I've got it on screen. You can't quite get the plane, guys. Oh, you got the plane finally.
Yeah, but I think it was actually the train I missed, but it was everyone said
because look, you don't have trains yet, and you've skipped trains. But that was like the kind of thing at the time where you were like, I mean, you were our good friend, and we spoke to you a lot. Well, as much as we could, because you still had Skype curfews at that time, because you were like 15.
2010. I still had it well into 2011.
Yes, exactly. But I remember like the general consensus for like years was that you were never that good at the speedruns.
No.
You were like mediocre. Christian, of course, was the worst at the speedruns. Him and Fraser were like the dog shit tier. Al was pretty good. Luke was the best, and I was like me and Al were kind of like similar tiered.
Similar, yeah, I'd say, yeah.
For a long time, but yeah. So that was like round one was pretty like I mean I don't want to say uneventful, but the big controversy in round two was there was two big controversies. We'll talk about yours in a second.
Well, there are two. There are two.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
We'll talk about LukeRF44 versus Mr. 100% Gamer, because there was a bit of like a thing going on in that tournament where Luke had he came first in the IAS1, and then you came second in IAS2, and everyone was like, fuck this guy. He won't stop losing. and then he won't stop winning, sorry. And then you raced Mr. 100% Gamer in this game, which is Spyro 4. And everyone was like, I remember there was a original match where John beat you due to a technicality, and everyone was like, hooray, Luke is gone. But then you rematched, and everyone was furious that you were rematching, and then John beat you again.
Yeah.
What?
There's quite a lot to say with this.
Well, please go ahead.
Okay, so basically the backstory is that we got draw, and we talked on Skype, and we figured, like, if we did one of the original Spyro games, then people would watch and think, it's going to be a predictable result, predictable kind of race, and that. So we thought, why not we do something we both have hardly played before, and it might make things a lot more even. So we picked Enter the Dragonfly. And I actually got, like, a new capture card recently as well, so I was able to actually record this. Yeah. So after that, we did do a test race of this, to see how things go. And I did win the test race. I think it was the same goal, actually. I can't remember. It was something involving dragonflies, anyway. So I won the test, the test race. And then I heard, I can't remember who told me, but apparently after the race was done, John practiced like crazy for this race we were doing the next day.
I was with him when he was practicing, by the way.
Yes, you was. Were you in the car? Yeah, you were in the car. Of course, you were in the car.
I was there the whole way through. I remember barely anything, but I was in both races. It was just us three, I'm pretty sure. So yeah.
So we did the race itself, and John just managed to beat me by getting the last dragonfly before I did, which was in I can't remember what level it'll be in the video. But anyway, he beat me to it. It was a clear win for him. It was like a second or two after I got my last one, and then that was it. It was done, dusted. We ended the race, put it up. All as well. Then I heard like there was a lot of... by the way, apparently this happened. Like the controversy part happened when I was actually away with my family for Christmas, and they were saying how like they want to redo the match and have a rematch in that because it's too close to calling the last race, even though clearly he won. Yep. So I got back afterwards, and Ratchet was asking me if I want to do a rematch with John because. They were so like Ratchet apparently was pissed that I got knocked out so early on.
Wait, what? He was pissed.
Yes, I remember that. Yes, that's
correct.
He was like.
I thought everyone.
If you look at the comments on the original video, he said like, "Why did I agree to do this race with him when I could have beaten him in the 3 games?" And it's like, that's why we didn't enter Dragonfly because it would have been a closer race.
Yeah,
there was nothing more to it, really. I don't know, like, and there was like a podcast about it being discussed as well, and I was just like, why is this such a big deal? Like, I was obviously gutted I lost, of course, but I wasn't like gonna cry and demand a rematch in that. But anyway, eventually, like, I gave in about fine, we'll have the rematch, get it done with again, and then we did like a longer version of that race, which is also uploaded on the channel, and he beat me comfortably again by a few dragonflies, and then that was. Certain then he won clear as day in that game, and he moved on to the next round.
So yeah, and you can see why having draws beforehand might have been a good idea in heading into this tournament, because there was another situation between our good friend Al Molloy and Matt LeBlanc that I was certain was going to tear the community into two. Because there was there was two camps.
Matt LeBlanc.
There was the Crash for 1596 camp, and there was the Al Molloy camp, and it said a lot about you. It's much like modern day WWE AEW. Okay, one was clearly right, one was clearly fucked. That's right. So who who you sided with said a lot about you. I think it was a big moment. It was a watershed moment. Al, would you please take us away and talk about your race against Crash for 1596?
I'll need to go back a little bit though to like my entire history in the tournament because it does play into some of what happened because I was in a group with like I remember like Ratchet even like almost like apologized to me afterwards because I was with him, Bandy, and who was the other person?
Crash 2 Hedgehog, Mayo Doctor.
Really?
It was. It was you, Ratchet,
Oh crap!
Bandy, and Cole.
Actually, that's actually
No
a quality.
way!
Yes.
That's a quality group, actually.
That's
I
crazy.
forgot that. Did I race him?
You raced
actually?
Cole. Spyro 3 raced to get the funky chicken. It was apparently.
Oh, I remember that now. Oh
There
my
it is.
word! Oh my god! I forgot, and that's my editing, by the way. That was, and I asked him for his logo because he said he had a logo. Can you put it in the video? And I put it in there. Yeah. And I liked at that time I really liked using kind of like pink and weird colors because I was like, oh, it's kind of like, you know, kind of weird and out there. But that's crazy. That's actually crazy. Wow. Okay. Cool. So anyway, so that happened. So I ended up beating Ratchet because I kind of hustled him because I repeated the goal that he had done with someone else on the channel previously, and he thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna win. I just copied his route and I did it better than him, luckily, and I won. So that happened. Lost to Bandy, beat Cole. Triple threat happened. Obviously, I'm going through this at a rapid pace because I'm getting to the math stuff. The triple threat happened, and it was me, Bandy, and Ratchet. Ratchet made me do this at 5 a.m. By the way.
What the hell?
John was there too. Yeah, and I was furious that I was being made to do this at 5 a.m. And there's a part in it where I just like fucking like yell like because everyone was giving me shit about my route because I had to think on the fly and I was like it was a race to get 25 eggs, I'm pretty sure. And I had to think on the race to get 25 eggs, and I think maybe 100% a level, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was race to 100% one level and 25 eggs, yeah.
Yes, perfect. And I, obviously, I think Ratchet and I both did Sheila's Alp, and Bandy, for whatever reason, did fucking Cloud Spires like a fool. So he done that, he fucked up, he's standing outside, and he forgot a gem, is what he done. He forgot a gem.
He exited the level before he collected the egg.
Yeah, well, was it before he collected? I thought he forgot a gem. No, he missed a gem, I'm pretty sure. Well, either way, he forgot something, anyway. So he's standing out there going, fucking... Oh, I exited the level before something. I can't remember what he was saying exactly. And he was trying to get us to restart the match because he fucked up. And then he goes like, well, for Al, you restarted when within 20 seconds, my game was lagging. And I said, can we restart because I need to delete some stuff. So within 20 seconds, I had asked for that. And he used that as like his, oh, well, you restarted for Al. It's bullshit. And I was like, no, that's clearly not the same thing. You just fucked up. So that happened. He stood outside there for 90 seconds before he realized, well, I'll have to go back in and get the gem or whatever. And so he done that, and on that basis, despite my shitty route, which, as I say, people kept giving me shit about to the point where I ended up yelling at everyone in the call, like, well, you made me do this speedrun at fucking 5 a.m., so it's your fault. And so despite that, I still managed to beat Bandy, and Bandy was furious about this. Like, he was furious, and he, like... definitely, I could tell, didn't like Ratchet, didn't like me, and didn't like John, and basically anyone else who was in the call at the time. So that's important context for what came after the fact, okay? So then I was drawn in round 2 against Crash41596. We had a race to get to Evening Lake, and it was a very close race.
40 eggs.
It was 40 eggs? Oh, sorry, right. Maybe the one after it was...
No, it was
oh, yeah,
because our last... with 40 eggs.
Right, okay, fair. Right, that's what it was. Thank you for clarifying. And yeah, very close race. I remember Matt insisting on practicing a lot before, and I was like insisted, like, can we just do this now? Because it was like the weekend, and he like practiced and practiced. So, which later Ratchet suspected he pre-recorded for both races, but I don't know if that's actually true. But as you can see, photo finish. Accord, but as you'll see by my footage, because I was using the hacked version, the shitty ISO of the game, it flung me to a far off part of Spike's Arena to where it took me an extra 5 seconds to reach Evening Lake, even though I'd actually beaten Spike literally a frame or two quicker, because John sent it to me on Skype after the fact, and John, Mr. 100% Gamer, had my back the entire time throughout this. I want to shout him out. He was like fully like backing me up here. So was Christian too, and yeah, as you can see, Matt reached there
when you
first.
Beat him, right? So your animation was slightly further ahead of his.
Yes, exactly. So you see it there. So technically, you could say
your blue thing had hit him before his blue thing already.
That's correct.
So yeah, I'll try to get him that. Nice.
Yeah. if you play it in slow speed, you'll see then, yeah, that I was. So I had technically actually won the speed run. I maintained at the time, and I maintain now, I would have given Matt a rematch. If I had actually reached Evening Lake like a frame quicker, I still would have given him a rematch. Like, because yeah, and I even said that. I was like, I'd do this for you.
Yeah, yours hit first.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Indisputable
but what
fact.
happened? It's indisputable that I won, yes. But then the comment section happened, and I commented on the video like, I hereby ask for a rematch because I think that, well, for obvious reasons. And then Matt said, oh, well, it's a shame about what happened to Al, but I'm not giving him a rematch. And then Ratchet stepped in, and Ratchet was like, no, like, this should be a rematch. And then it became a huge drama. And then Bandy, so that's why I explained everything before, Bandy sided with Matt because he was annoyed about the triple threat. So he saw this as an opportunity to antagonize me. And so the rematch was ordered. Matt beat me, which, as I say, Ratchet still maintained at the time anyway that he thought was a pre-recording because it just seemed a little bit too good. Well, I don't know if that's actually true. I think he was just really fucking good at the game. Yeah. So yeah,
he was incredible.
So that happened.
We did make 40 eggs a bit of a meme at that point too. I remember. We used to make like if you wanted a joke run, it would be 40 eggs. That's why, if you remember as well, we made our fan game, which was also a reference to 40 Winks, but it was Crazy Jack and the 40 Marbles. There was just something about the number 40 which we found funny after this because
Look at how close it is here.
Yep, it was very close. Yeah, it was the second one was very close too. Which, as I say, there was just something that Ratchet just suspected about about Matt's footage, but I don't think it's true. Look, we're both in Bamboo Terrace. I had a death in Cloud Spires, which I think fucked me over in the end. So but it was very close. Like that's really close actually when you think about it. So yeah, he and I were proper neck and neck. But yeah, so that happened, and I put 4chan in there because there was something about Matt being like an edgelord or something. So I was like making fun of him for it and all that shit, and then it just caused like this like horrific drama, and that's why when you asked me like about IAS3, I was like, no, it was terrible. I was like, because I hated that period because like Bandy and Matt just started trolling me, and like Bandy said that like I had a rape face and like was like attacking my appearance and making edits like to say I was like a pedophile because he said you just look like one, and this is like horrific.
That was the
for like a very insecure 18-year-old who like by all means like hated how he looked. Like that was just horrific for me. So I just remember just like retreating to my shell and hating this so much, but also retaliating because Matt is French origin, so I started calling him a frog. As you do.
I wish I had the edit of that still as well. You probably have them somewhere.
Matt the Frog. No, I have Matt the Frog somewhere.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, this is not a good thing. It's not like it's the kind of shit that is the reason why that they did develop these reputations. Outside of it, because people knew this kind of shit was going on, and like, there was no real quote unquote innocent parties. Everyone was kind of involved with doing that kind of thing. But it's
that's right.
It's disappointing, but expected, and it was sort of a natural conclusion. And I mean, it continued and continued until it reached its sort of peak a bit later. But I mean, I'd say in many regards, this was the first peak, really.
Yes.
And the funny thing with this tournament too was that actually previously in I'm A Speedrunner 2, Ratchet had considered doing draws, like ties, but John dissuaded him from doing it because he thought it would be a bad idea. So I wonder what would have happened if they already had draws in this, because after this tournament, we went crazy with draws, and actually in a few tournaments after this, in part
the end of I'm A Speedrunner
3, it killed I'm A Speedrunner. That draws was the death of I'm A Speedrunner.
It was.
And you can almost trace everything back to your race, because this was the start and the beginning of the end, in my opinion. Or is Christian, is that too melodramatic?
No.
Am I being too like this tournament was the alpha and the omega of it, because I'm A Speedrunner 3 really like was the start.
You could say that. I have a lot to say about IAS3 though, not just about myself, like about like the grand final too. Like I remember I remember watching the rest of the races and just praying and hoping that Matt wouldn't win. I so badly didn't want him to win the tournament. I wanted John
Me too.
to win
I
so badly
I
because
was
he was in the grand
definitely
final.
Team U. I was pulling for
You were.
Ratchet
Yeah.
or actually especially Ratchet to win because he was also Team us, Team U.
Yes.
And I was
Well,
also
in-
pulling
in-
for John to win as well.
Yep.
Because the grand final,
Well,
for anyone who's interested, was Mr. 100% Gamer, Lepogne36, and Ratchet5 and Crash41596.
Lepogne.
Yeah. And this one was also at a weird time because I remember this was like at a maybe 9 p.m. on a Sunday night for Australians, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been like quite awful for Americans. Actually, no, it wouldn't have been too bad.
It was John who had to post-record, and I remember like Rabbit kept making these annoying, like shady comments at John, and he said something towards the end that was like particularly shady, and John just goes, "Fuck off, Rabbit!" But because basically it's like John's commentary was spliced over the original track of the original commentary, so it's just him reacting to people in the call without being able to actually defend himself, and they were like shit talking him and all of this. Like it was just so funny because Rabbit was team Bandy and Matt. So
Rabbit was
yeah.
a troll. Rabbit was definitely in the troll camp.
Yeah. Yes, he was.
I forget which side Christian and Luke were on. I don't know.
Well, I don't remember too much about that drama, but apparently I was on our side. Which
Yeah, you were. Yeah,
I've always been ours mensch. It seems to be the default that I always take whatever your fucking side is on anything.
I mean,
without
even
it.
if I didn't know, I would have just said, yeah, Christian was on my side. Like, it was more than likely if John was, and I think Luke was pretty impartial, but still on my side. Like, really, like if you think about it, and
I don't even think I was I don't think I was really involved when all this was going down.
No, you weren't. You weren't really. No, I don't think so. Sorry, Andrew, you were going to say something actually.
No. I was just looking at. I'm just looking at some. I'm sort of crawling through the different comments. It's really interesting. Just some of the people like Fraser saying that he's going to finally make it to round 2 and an IS4. He's going to finally get there. He lost all his matches and his most of his group's audio screwed up. He had a great time. So that was Fraser's perspective of IS3. So he had a good time.
You go.
This was the horrible Photoshop we alluded to earlier, by the way. That was it there.
Yep.
Oh, my one was so much better.
Yours was that was the first one.
That was the original, yeah, and then my one.
Like what? Who thought that looked good? Even in that time, honestly.
That was one thing that always this sort of era of I'm a Speedrunner, that I was seemingly the only person that knew how to use Photoshop.
Yeah.
Even then, not particularly well, but I knew how. Like,
this was yours, by the way. Where is it? Hurry up and load.
It's not particularly good, but it wasn't done pain.
Oh, much better. Jesus.
Seriously, for 2010, that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, I remember. I must have volunteered myself. It was too early in the community for me. No, it would have been Dazzy again, but I made that Pimp Dazzy thing.
Yep.
So I think Andrew recruited me, Ratchet5 recruited me to make a better version of the mess he did.
Oh, Pimp Dazzy, as in
I had that early on. I had like.
So this was your earliest creation.
Yeah. But like, I remember I was like, I'll do that. Yeah, I was like really happy to be asked for this massive tournament. For Ratchet5, who was this big YouTube, I was like,
I will tell you something though. Until ISGP, until like the most recent ISGP, this was the most viewed tournament of every tournament. Like on the channel, 56,000 views on the channel. Like think about that. That's pretty remarkable for the fact that of the matter. Like there were, if you think about who would watch the races, the people in the tournament probably, and maybe some subscribers of the others. But 56,000 is. My terrible parody song has over 1,000 views. 1,000 people have heard me sing Fireflies, a parody of Fireflies, horribly out of sync.
You alluded to this at the start of the segment where the third tournament kind of happened at the perfect time. It was sort of near Christmas. Everyone was off. Everyone was off school. Young at the time, and it was just like. It was just like ISGP1 where it was COVID hit, everybody was on lockdown, about to be on lockdown,
Yeah.
on furlough or work from home or so on. And it was like that. Like, it was just like the perfect period. Perfect period on about views.
Yeah.
It was that sort of like perfect time when there still wasn't that much content. It was a perfect time when if you made PlayStation Let's Plays, you would get views.
Yes.
Like if you made speedruns, you'd get views. There wasn't. It wasn't like this huge. Like there wasn't like 10,000 other people doing a video on Spyro.
No, I think we would all agree that like you felt part of something. I think like I remember we had the talk shows as well, like the I'm A Speedrunner talk shows, and it would be like a mad scramble every week to try and get in the lineup of that. It's like I want to be on the talk show. I want to be on the talk show. Put me in. It was like just it was just I don't know. It was you wanted to make parodies like Owen made Bionicle 28 and I made Speedrun for Noobs. Yeah, and I made like Andrew Carroll Ratchet 5 made like the parody songs, and I made like a tribute video to the parody song with like clips from the actual like tournament and shit, like shit like that. It was
everyone wanted to make something around it. Yeah,
it was a magical time, and I think this is like the perfect note to like end part 1 on, because I'm A Speedrunner 3 was transformative, and what came next, I'm A Speedrunner 4, you would maybe argue was a bit of a downgrade, and the transition of the community from the end of 2010, outside of 2011, over the next year and a half was quite something. We'll talk a lot about some of the big incidents that happened in 2011, 2012. We'll talk about the other tournaments, the copycat tournaments that happened.
Yeah,
we'll talk about
and that's my big soapbox of if you're waiting for like the quote unquote controversy, and it's not in a negative way, honestly, not in a negative way. That's going to be the good stuff, because that is something that has truly, in my opinion, been lost to history. So very much look forward to hearing about the myriad of the tournaments that existed that did not get their time in the sun.
We will give them their time in the sun. We'll talk about in the next part. I'm A Speedrunner 4, I'm A Speedrunner 5, I'm A Speedrunner 6, I'm A Speedrunner 7. So we'll talk about.
We're gonna do so 7. Okay, so
we'll end on 7 because I'm A Speedrunner 8 that's big. That's a lot of.
Well, you can't miss the episode on 7. That to me is one of the bigger tournaments for sure.
The Disney tournament, yeah. So I mean, we'll I hope my commentators, my guests will return for part 2, because I had a great time doing this. This was a lot of fun, and we'll hopefully bring in a couple more people, because I think this is great. I love just hearing you guys. Like we talk a lot about this ourselves, but it's just kind of cool to know that you remember this stuff 10 years after the fact too, and we all sort of have this shared collective past that I think we I think we take it for granted now, that especially we've got like 40 to 50 new people in our server who never existed at this time, who don't know about this stuff, who I think might find it interesting. So, and that's the perfect time to do it. So we will end part 1 here, and we will continue. Probably next week we'll record part 2 and get that up, and I'm excited to talk about that. So for CrystalFissure, Al Molloy, LukeRF44, KingEurope1, I've been Nintendo Gen 64, and as I always say, farewell for now, but not forever.
Bye. Arigatou gozaimasu. I don't know why I said it.